SMTN.
How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Shin Megami Tensei Network Link 337. I'm your host, Spencer Presiley, or at least that's what we're saying this week, due to a bit that you may or may not hear at the end of the show's bloopers. I don't know, you tell me. I am joined by a very special guest today, my better half of the Nahabino fan club. At least, if you're not the president, I've got to wonder who else would be the president. Casey Mongillo, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Spencer.
Let me butcher your last name. Yes, we're going to make... If you do it on purpose, no one can say you've butchered someone's last name, unless you're that telemarketer we talked about
before.
That's true.
I've heard some things.
Montalegio, were you the person that Lupin Castle was based off of?
Montague, Mongoliano, sure. You know, I've heard them all.
Casey's Mongolian Barbecue, very famous place. You do get a discount, I've heard.
Hell of a cook.
You just cook at all of them, actually. The tip jar just goes directly to your Venmo, no matter if you're there or not.
We use the ley line fount to pour all the maca into my pockets.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so as your much better segue is going to work than mine, Casey, thank you for being here. All the real hardcore fans... All the real hardcore fans are excited that you are here, mostly because if anyone actually remembers the last time we had talked to you, it was November 10th, 2021, and I think the last time you were talking to me, we were looking at Orange Sand from Dots, which was a very different time.
Yeah, yep, that's when Atlas sent me a box of goodies, and inside was some sand.
I'm just saying... There hasn't been a box sent for Vengeance yet. There's still a chance for them to one-up themselves. It's going to be hard, but they could hypothetically do it.
Dude, they gave us Nahabino, the plushie. I know they have a new one coming out, but I don't know if you could top the Beano, dude.
That's a controversial plushie, by the way.
I love it. I have I technically had 3. From all the different things that I went to, I kept 1, and I gave 2 away. So I have my 1. That's all I need. But
that's really funny. I just realized you and me are probably one of the few people who've ever owned more than 1. Because it's the original Nahabino little I don't know. Would you call it a chibi plush? Because he's not
it's its own thing. It's chibi, but
it is.
I have a chibi thing someone gave me, and it's a tiny look. It's I have it. I'm looking at it on my shelf right now. I have the Pro Tag, Nahabino, and Aogami, 3 little plushy looking chibi things, but they're kind of stress balls too. But those look chibi.
And it's. I know the person, and I know the team who actually designed the one that was used for giveaways and stuff with it. I need to just ask them for it because they're no longer with Atlas anymore, but the legacy that little, because remember it's still never been sold. It's a thing that was just meant to be here's a goofy giveaway item that was only made in the West and never was put out for sale, anything else like that. And they had to have no clue how pissed off people were going to be about not being able to buy it, and just what a weird meme it's become. It's so even now I'll I wish I remembered the name of them. I'll try and put it in the show notes for it. There's this artist in Japan, you've probably seen some of their stuff, where they do a little webcomic series with that specific Nahabino.
Yes, I've seen that.
And so many of them are dedicated to the fact that they live in Japan and they never had a chance to buy one, and they're hundreds of dollars on eBay. That's I feel so bad for them.
I mean, I guess that really gives the sense of, rarity, because you can't buy them, you can't get them. It was only a promo item, so A lot of people might, really want it just because you can't normally get it, but everyone deserves a little Nahabino.
Everyone, listen, I'm not saying this is a guaranteed way to print money. They could have literally just like they could have made like a $500 edition of SMT5 that just included both Beanos, and it would have sold
Hmm.
out. No matter how many they made, it would have sold
Dude,
out.
I would have bought one because I
Well, like I
want
was
that
gonna
new
say,
one too. Like it looks so
you've
cool.
got to feel good at least. You were at least one of a handful of people who don't have to worry about do I win the new one or not.
Well, I don't know yet because I the people that I used to talk to from Atlas, I think are no longer there. But I'm trying to be
Hey,
like, is there any way I can maybe buy or get the new one because it looks really freaking cool, and I have a whole game collection like on my shelf, and
oh yeah,
most of
I
it's like
still need to
SMT
see a
stuff.
picture of your
Yeah,
shrine.
it's slowly getting there. I just got the well, I've had it, but I'm putting it all together again. The imported collector's edition of SMT5 from Japan and the US that I bought, and so I have like two different boxes with the soundtracks like side by side, and it looks so cool together. Uh, and of course, all the Vengeance steelbooks I got because I got it for like every system because I'm a nerd.
You and me, but when you replied, when you replied, or I forget if it was you or me, when you posted your picture of launch day, I was like, this literally looks like someone just changed the source of
I thought
lighting on my
I
picture
legit
I
I
had
saw yours
posted.
after I posted mine. I'm like, did he take my image? I'm not mad if he did. I'm just
Wouldn't that have been like such like a funny thing of like I'm gonna steal Casey's photo and hope nobody
I'd be like, you know what?
notices?
I'm honored. Go for it. Share the wealth, even though it's just a photo.
Yeah, yeah. I snuck into your phone's photo library. I posted it early, and then somehow like that's where like our like fake internet beef started. Was like I posted my steelbooks before you, but it was actually your
I'm gonna make a
steelbooks.
diss track on you because
Oh
no,
God, no! I,
no, it's like you just changed the order because I'm like, wait, this is mine, but mine, I think this one was in the middle. Hmm. And then I checked the hours and was like, oh crap, you already did this. Whoops, I'm gonna look like I stole it.
no, it was so funny though because like when I picked up my copies at launch, I remember I told the GameStop employee where I had pre-ordered them because I was like, I've got to be the only sad human who's doing this for you guys today. And he was like, no, I mean, like, it happens every now and then. Like, what was funny, though, was, like, even the GameStop employee was like, I'm just more shocked you picked it up on Xbox more than anything. I was the store's only Xbox pre-order.
That's yeah. I mean, I'm sure most of it's gonna be on PlayStation and Switch and PC, but
You know what, I will say, I've seen, because, like, especially, like, that first launch weekend, I basically was, like, asking everybody to just send me your pictures of where you're playing. There were so many people who picked it up on
that's
Xbox, I
cool.
was very shocked.
That's cool.
Because it's not on Game Pass, so it's like people had to like really like be
So
there
you're
and show
actually
their
buying it
support.
and not
Because
renting it. That's pretty cool.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
they and I mean you've seen that steelbook. That thing
Oh, and if
is
people bought the physical
very
copy, like
nice.
bonus points, because the Steelbook is limited, and it just like I mean, the Steelbook, the original launch, from like 2.5 years ago, Steelbook looks great, but this Steelbook, I knew what the art was gonna look like, but looking at it, the way it shines in the light, like a certain way when you hold it, it was like, ooh, oh, I'm gonna feel real bad when I have to start signing these things.
Oh my
Like I
god, I
can't do it.
know,
Can I
and then
sign
because at
inside
least
instead?
oh yeah, I mean that's the tough part because like the perfect thing with I agree with you. I like the Vengeance Steelbook more than the original vanilla Steelbook. But the nice thing though was there was that little like plastic cover slip.
Yes. Yep.
So
Yep.
at least you could like sign that and not worry about like, hey, I'm gonna just sign the back of this that only has like Konsu on it for no reason. Whereas like now it's like, cause yeah, it's like it's very dark and it looks really nice when like lights put up to it and stuff with it. But it's like yeah, like obviously a dark Sharpie's not gonna look really good. It's super glossy and I'd be super worried about smudging it or anything. So it's like, all right, everybody, if you're bringing a steelbook, you need to have like a game plane and like a heat lamp with you at all conventions.
For SMT stuff, Steelbooks especially, I have like a special gold paint pen that like sparkles, and it kind of the paint will kind of rise, so it looks really nice and will shine like with the Steelbook, because nothing else works, and also nothing else will look good, and that's the only thing I could use that kind of doesn't completely ruin It's like a little gold on the cover looks okay, but still, I will typically sign the inside, which the original one you have the pro tag on the left and Nahabino on the right, or maybe it's flipped, but I'll sign one of those sides
Yeah,
instead, just so I'm not
it's both of them.
so I'm not desecrating the beautiful face of the art, you know. But
Did you ever get the Japanese steelbook for
I
Vanilla?
did, yep.
I I at least like that one a lot more just because I love that inside art of like that like spread shot of them as well.
It is
And
really
then like
nice.
I think that art at least for I think the cover in Vengeance works a little bit better like spread out, whereas like it fits better being on like one side versus the other. But I know like most people would see both of them and just be like, no, I'm gonna get the one that's not gonna cost me $80 in an import fee.
Right, right. I mean, they all look great. They're all very different, which is cool. They didn't just like change one little thing, or it's not the exact same. So if you have different versions, like me, it's it's actually cool to check them out. And go, oh, this is what they did for this one. Oh, this is what they did for this one. Look, I'm a huge nerd, so I love that stuff. Like, oh, how they do this? Oh, this is cool. It's different.
Well, and it's what's really funny too is I like to switch the sleeve and see how long it takes anyone to look at it when they notice it in my collection. So I'll put the like English cover slipcase on the Japanese one, and most people don't recognize it till
Oh,
they open it up.
I would be like, Ayo, what's what's
That's the wrong sleeve. What are
what's
you
going on with
doing?
that?
Get that in the right. You know, I don't often have like that guy moment, and this is like such a weirdly specific one, but I see it a lot because of like how many copies of this was printed. But have you ever seen the steelbook that came out for the PlayStation 4 launch of Persona 5 Royal?
Mm,
It was like red and gold.
I know what it looks like, but I'd never had it.
So it's a steelbook where the cover is actually the backside of it. So it's like the protagonist's face is on what you would say is the reverse side of the steelbook, and that means the spine's on the right. So when most people are putting it back in, people are putting it in reverse, where it's like it's the backside of the DVD
Oh,
showing
I'm
through the
looking at it
front
now.
slip,
Oh no, images.
and it drives
Oh,
me
that's
crazy. Every
funny.
time I'm at a store, I have to like correct it, and I even got like asked once. I was like, "Oh, why did you put the back in the front?" And I was like, it's not worth it.
That's
It's not.
funny.
There's no answer I could tell this
That's
person
funny.
that they're not going to leave here thinking I'm a psychopath.
Like, okay, I see how it is. All right, I'll fix it just in case this person comes back and gives me crap for it.
Oh
That's
my
funny.
god! But no, I'm glad. I'm glad at least you can help me not feel as bad about buying my 19 copies of Shin Megami Tensei 5. Because I mean, really, if you don't own at least 5 copies of SMT 5, are you doing it
I
right?
mean, five is in the title, so
It's true. You need to get it on PC, the Windows Store, which is probably not even on there, Xbox One, Series X, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and I think there's a Vcast version, but like only on one phone.
what?
There's one
Is there
phone out there
really?
that no, but I wish it'd be like that. It'd be like that phone version of Oblivion. Like everyone
Oh,
like saw
see, you
that
could
image
tell
and
me
was like,
this,
"Oh,
and
this
I
is
would just
fake,
be
right?"
like, oh, that's probably the thing. If it's not like a major release with like a physical copy, I tend to just kind of ignore.
It's
So it's like
okay.
any mobile versions or stream only stuff. I'm like, yeah, yeah, I'm good.
Well, I gotta ask then, as a big not only self-inserter but also Tony Hawk fan, does that mean you have the physical copy of Tony Hawk Pro Skater on the N-Gage?
Not yet because I don't have an N gauge, but I do have every copy of that game for every system in both English and Japanese. And I just recently found that there is someone discovered that there is a secret skater in the Japanese version of Pro Skater 3 for PS2 and has never been unlocked.
Oh
So I
yeah,
kind
I
of,
saw that
so I
recently.
kind of, went into the game files and I did a couple of shenanigans and I made it so that character is actually playable, which has never been playable before. Um, so I did that. I made a little patch so you can play as this secret skater that was and be fully played, I guess.
See, what you're telling me right now is just that now, whenever I get to see you next in person, I have to bring you my copy of Tony Hawk Pro Skater on the N-Gage and just give it to you.
If I had an N gauge, I would play it on the N gauge. I don't even know where
It's
one
it
would get it. mean, eBay,
Oh,
I
and
guess.
it's dirt cheap.
Is it
Yeah, they're
really?
not expensive. Oh no, yeah, seriously. Like Engage, I think only has like one or two games that are like actually
I'm
expensive.
gonna look this up right now. Let's see.
See, I'm gonna say that,
20
and then I
bucks
haven't looked
used
at a year. There you
in
go.
case.
Yeah, they're very
It's got
undesirable,
the
but it's a
it's
cool
got the
port.
like logo of Pro Skater 4. It just doesn't have the
Yes.
4. But
Yeah, it was because it was weird.
it
It
came out
came
so
out
much
like
later, I
I
guess.
think
It
I
must have
think
been
it was the
'03.
year of either it was either Thug. No, it was like around Thug 2 or American Wasteland was when it
Oh
came out.
wow. Because Pro
Yeah, it
Skater
was really
4
late.
was 2002, and Engage stuff I think was, man, let me see. When did
I think '04.
yeah, '04 would have been Thug 2, yeah. October 20 or no, October 13th, 2003 is when it came out.
Okay,
So
so
that would have been
close.
right when Thug 1 released. Just
Okay.
before, I think, yeah.
So this will kind of work in terms of a next question slash be the world's most delayed proper introduction to who you
We are
are.
so we are such nerds. Jesus. Apologies to everybody listening who came for SMT and now you're hearing about our collections and Tony Hawk
Tony Hawk
games.
will come up again by the end of this podcast. That's a guarantee. It's not even a question. Something will bring me back to like we'll go on a 30-minute tirade about why Pro Skater 3 and 4 HD can still happen
Oh,
hypothetically
can you
one day.
imagine? That'd be amazing. Oh, that'd be so cool. I'm here for it. If only.
But yeah, Casey, like I was saying a little bit before the show got started, like the problem with you is you do so much. Like even I almost
Do
feel
I
bad
though?
if I was just like, oh,
No, it's-
you do, because like if I was just like, Casey, you're such a great actor, and it'd be like, but like I bet there are so many people out there who like only know you for like, oh yeah, like this person doing like streaming or like your mod work or like every other little weird aspect for it. So it's like, what's the like no character limit required intro of like when you're like, okay, let's just give a safe bet that you're listening to this and you're most likely are going to have 1 to 900 things in common with us here. Who the heck are you? Slash, what do you want people to kind of know about you?
I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, chances are you just know me as the Nahabino, or the voice of the protagonist in SMT5 Vengeance. But yeah, I do other stuff, and that's my intro.
You are also a certified gremlin now.
I
I
am.
forgot about
Yeah,
that.
so in Vengeance, when they brought me back to do Vengeance,
Were they like, hey, thanks for recording that 9-hour monologue at the end of the Vengeance route. Now that that's done, would you like to actually use your voice in this
it was
game?
like, yeah, it was like, so we got you to do like, a handful of protagonist Nahabino stuff for Vengeance. This was like sometime middle last year probably, and that's when they showed me like the new design, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. So I got to do that stuff, and then like, we actually have more for you. I'm like, what? I can do more? And they had me do Gremlin, which is like, the little kind of ghostly little demon, and I didn't even know that was one that I voiced, because the characters that I voiced for Vengeance had code names, so I didn't even know that was me until there's a lady who works at Sega that popped into my stream and was like, oh, by the way, that one's you. And I'm like, what? I love Gremlin. That's awesome. So Gremlin, Inaba hair of Inaba, which is the bunny. So I voiced the Bonoi as well. And I voiced a bunch of the like maniacal, demonic kind of, I guess it's like a general sound that you hear throughout the game with lots of different types of demons. So if you hear like a maniacal laughter from a demon that sounds kind of like Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal 1, that's probably me. Yeah. And that's what I do with SMT. But yeah, I do a lot of voice acting for a lot of shows, most notably probably Delicious in Dungeon and Neon Genesis Evangelion and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Let's see. But yeah, I'm a huge nerd, and I really just used to program a lot and do video game stuffs, like hacking and making mods and seeing what makes games tick, because I wanted to be a game developer since I was like 8 years old. So I got to do a bunch of that stuff when I was little, but now I'm working on games in a different way now, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like you went you're like the reverse of how some people go. Like some people like will start with voice acting and then like oh hey, and then I'll maybe work in like to like sound engineer and then like start putting things in for like design or like game development or like coding and stuff with it. It's so odd that like oh yeah, when I was young I was doing like programming and now I'm using my
I
voice.
mean, yeah, the first, I took apart a game when I was probably about 7 years old called Battle Arena Toshinden for the PlayStation. And I thought it was fascinating. You could put the disc into the computer and it would play music and you could see some files and stuff. So I was like, what's this do? And then my cousin, who like knows way more about computers than me, introduced me to this little thing called a hex editor. So you could pretty much just peek at any file and see what makes whatever you're looking at tick. So I learned that really early on, and it really helped me understand how games were made. I was fascinated by it because seeing something like a PlayStation 1 game, stuff that was new at like 6 or 7 or 8 years old, whatever, blew my mind because my parents had I don't know, like a NES and Genesis and stuff and ColecoVision probably, but this was just, it blew my mind. So I wanted to know everything about games, how the hell they were made, because it was magical to me. Still is. Um, and yeah, so I just learned a bunch of that stuff. And then I just ended up doing QA a little bit for games when I was in high school. And yeah, by the time I stopped doing QA, I learned a lot about video games and it was a lot of fun. But I also got into like sound design because the sound work in video games fascinated me too. So that's when I found I kind of have a lot of people's like artistic thing is like they could do visuals or they could do movement or sound or whatever. My thing was definitely sound and sure as hell not visuals because I've tried. It doesn't work. But
Making anything look pretty in games is so hard.
it's
It's
that's the
like
most mind-blowing thing to me is how things look in games like SMT5, like the art style and how they you look at the concept art and how they put it into the game so well in 3D because I do not understand 3D modeling like at all. I've tried it. It's just not my thing. I look at that and anyone who works in 3D modeling, I'm like, you have a power, a really cool power. That is, it's a powerful tool. And sound is a cool one too, but that was definitely more my lane. So the more I got into sound, I just dabbled a little bit in voice acting and I didn't really, I would record stuff for fun as a little kid with my friends on like, a crappy Logitech mic on our computer back in like 1999 or whatever. But never thought I'd end up doing voice acting. I kind of got into it around the time I was doing QA and sound work a little bit in high school and did my first game or my first project rather. And then I did my first game and then I did a couple more games almost immediately after that and was like, hey, maybe there's something, maybe I don't totally suck at this. Maybe this, because I got really high praise from like the developers that were working on it. Like, this is really good. I'm like, wait, really? No one's ever praised me for anything in my life before. So I thought maybe I have something small here. Maybe I could kind of learn upon this. And so, yeah, when I was in high school, there was a game came out called Elder Scrolls Oblivion. And I love the game. And for funsies, I decided to make a mod because my brother's a musician. He's older than me. And he had just set up a AT3035 microphone with an M Audio preamp, which is pretty basic, but decent at the time. And it was in a little booth underneath the stairs in our basement, basically. So I was like, I wonder if I could just record myself as the player voice. And so I did. And I figured out the audio format and I labeled it and put it in the game. I was like, wow, this is cool. I got my voice in the game as like the character that I'm playing. This is different. This is neat. And I showed a couple of friends and they're like, oh, that's really good. And these are friends that would not be blowing smoke. These are friends that would be like, you suck. You suck. Really,
those are the real friends you want to have around. You want the friends who are gonna let you know, dog, that was trash.
Exactly.
You gotta.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like, oh, that stuff you're doing, oh, that's crap. Oh, you suck, haha. But they're like, oh crap, this is actually pretty decent. What? Really? Yeah, can you send it over to me? Really? So I uploaded it, and a bunch of people downloaded it and loved it and played through the game with my voice as their character. And I'm like, wow, that's weird. Oh, that's weird. Especially in high school, not meaning to, I don't know. That wasn't really something I intended to be not the worst at. I thought it was going to suck completely. But so fast forward a couple of years, I worked on a game and I started to get, after that, I got into voice acting like a little bit more like seriously. And I worked on a game called The Tales of Bingwood. And that's where I met an amazing woman named Lonnie Manella, who is in every video game ever. She is an actor and casting director. She cast the original like Duke Nukem 3D game. And she goes way back with this stuff. And I worked with her. And she was like, who are you? Where are you from? And I'm like, what did I do? I'm sorry. And she's like, no, you're really good. I'm like, what? Yeah. Huh? And then she like wanted to talk to me like, you have potential. Let me help you, like help you reach where you want to be with voice acting. I'm like, really? And this is long before I lived in Los Angeles, which is where you have to be. So she helped me get a lot of opportunities when I was still living on the East Coast. And she taught me a lot about voice acting and how things work, how to just do everything proper. And I just, went with that. She was kind of my mentor in the mid late 2000s. And yeah, that's kind of how I got started. Like once I got the seal of approval from Lonnie freaking Manella, dude, that's when I was like, okay, I got to keep this going somehow because this is cool. Never thought I'd end up here, though, doing projects so grand and epic, quite like something like the main character. And I just finished the game last night, by the way, so
very jealous, by the way.
I'm like, my mind is still blown from the ending. And it was just a canon of creation ending. And I'm just sitting there like, holy crap. Not only was just such a powerful, amazing game, but I'm freaking part of it? That's wild. That still blows my mind.
Well, and that's what's been so funny is, like, I look back at, like, so many of the new or, like, new to me or this community in terms of, like, actors and people that we were kind of introduced to around the launch of this, because so many of the cast when Vanilla was getting recorded, and especially like when it released, not everyone in there was like a like household name that everyone really knew right away. And it's been so crazy of like comparing where people are at. And I think like two really good examples are definitely like, I always think of like you in terms of like how much stuff you've been, and which is wild because like it's not like you were like not in anything before SMT5. Like easily, I mean, if you have another example for it, it's hard to have more of a oh my god this is me moment, I'm sure, than announcing that you're Shinji, versus like,
oh, that was just terrifying.
You still oh yeah, terrifying. Well, but then but at the same time, like you've still had other roles that I've seen you get, like you announcing you're in, and I'm still like, oh my god, you're in that. That's crazy. Like it's crazy to see. And like other moments, like I'll never forget, like the moment like Ryan told me that he was Denji. I was like, I was ready. I literally I was ready for him to like say he was fucking with me, because he for the longest time would just constantly talk about Chainsaw Man in his free time, about how into it he was. I was like, oh, maybe he auditioned for it or whatever, and they're like, no, like it's actually him. Like, be like, man, what a weird world we live in now of like how different 2021 us feels to like current day.
It is. It's only been like what 2.5 years since the original came out, but it's kind of a lifetime of things seem to have happened to most of us since then. Maybe just time is going by fast. I don't know what it is, but I mean, I think the pandemic kind of messed with our sense of time quite a bit, but
Oh, for sure.
um, I don't know. So much has happened, and even though I got to work on a lot of great things before I moved to LA, I feel like moving to LA, like when I did about 7 years ago, um, that's when things started for me because it was like starting over. It's a whole new pool of people, people you meet, people you know and end up working with. Um, Anything you worked on prior is practically out the window because people want to know what you do here. So when I first moved here, I did Mob Psycho 100, I did Octopath Traveler, and I was very fortunate to kind of get some pretty cool jobs almost immediately. But it wasn't until a year later that I went to the role of Shinji, and I was terrified. I didn't want to do it, but I did. I mean, when the team in Japan and the creator of the show says, like, they pick you, then you kind of got to do it. So after that, things changed drastically, and a lot of unique opportunities opened up um, almost immediately after that. Things haven't really been the same since, but that's not entirely a bad thing because I feel like I've grown a lot as a person as well. I'm definitely more confident than I was when Ava first came out. But yeah, even since then, I don't know. Even when the SMT5 original came out, I was still very. Did I do okay? Was this all right? Kind of thing. And now I'm just like, no, you know what? If I get praise from like the teams in Japan and the teams in the US and hardcore fans of SMT that have been playing this for so many years, and they give me the seal of approval, even if I feel like I'm not doing something 100% or I'm not like, I don't think that was any good what I did. If I'm getting the seal of approval from all these amazing people and like amazing fans of the game and all these tremendously talented creative people that work on these things, I must be doing something okay. So I've kind of learned to let that go a little bit, like I guess imposter syndrome a little bit, if that makes
Oh
sense.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's almost hard not to have it, especially like in that line of work. Because I mean, like you bring up a great point that like it's such a discouraging thing to hear, but I think it is always important for people because like whenever I'm going around to like conventions and stuff covering either for like this show or just like wanting to interview people in general, I always find it so funny of like no matter how many anime conventions you go to or any like voice actor panels you'll go to, there will always be someone who's going to ask, "How do I get into blah blah blah?" Or like, "I got a microphone, I want to do blah blah." Like, I think it's always that thing of like, definitely start doing it on your own. You got to do it, but like even like that other weird thing of like and I think more people and I think it's definitely getting there, but that thing of like, yeah, you knew. It's like you would not be the same you if you never moved to
No,
LA.
no way.
Which, hey, for better or worse, that's just like that's the brass tacks of it.
Hmm. It's just
And
a
I
path that you take. I guess things just kind of unfold, and there's all
yeah,
these different streets and avenues you can take.
somewhere out there's like a butterfly effect, Casey, that like moved to Austin. Where it's like all you do is like strictly like shonen anime, like very deep, gruff like voices like that's that person. That's the weird timeline that Casey
Oh
went on.
man, that's a scary one. That's scary. Yeah, I can't do deep voices to say. So if they're like, yeah, we need you to play this villain in a show, I'd be like, I'm the big bad. I'm not like three like little kids in a trench coat with a top hat trying to be like, I'm an adult. That's how I feel when I'm doing those characters sometimes. But
So, and I mean, one of the other things too, like you mentioned earlier, that I really do want to bring up is having not only like that kind of like praise from someone who was already in the industry, but then like someone who will not only have that history that they can kind of like be a not only like a good like friend or a colleague with is like having someone who's already in a position where they are around these kind of like jobs and stuff with it. They see you and they hear you and they see that work that you do. That goes so far. It is so crazy because like a lot of it is, hey, it kind of again like moving. It's like right place, right time, in front of the right people. You have to have so many dominoes in place that it's almost intimidating. Or like I at least imagine like if I was someone who was like, hey, I want to get into voice acting for it, of like you have to almost like win this like weird specialized lottery to even like get into the chance for like landing X, Y, or Z roles.
You never know, because by the time I moved, I mean, I wanted to move to LA years and years and years ago. I was just beyond broke, and I had no
You know what
means to
helps
do
getting
it.
broke? Moving to LA.
So yeah, I made a mod for Fallout 4, and there was a really generous individual who loved it and said, like, you should do this full time. Like, what, voice acting? He's like, yeah. I I had like negative money to my name. I was just doing this all out of pure passion and wanted to create. And um, so long story short, uh, this individual is very well off and was like, how much would you need? I'm like, oh, I have to go to LA to do this full time. He's like, how much would you need? I'm like, at least to get me and my vehicle across the country, at least a few $1,000 or something like that. And he said, what's your PayPal? Next morning, I had 5 grand in my PayPal, and I looked at my roommate and said, I guess I'm going to LA. Now, I thought that was going to be like a 3-month endeavor.
And then you'd be
Yes, I
back.
thought I was going to blow it all, because that covered getting the vehicle out. It covered a couple of months' rent and the bare basics. I'm talking like bread, bagels, ramen, the cheapest water I could find, which is always the best water to get anyway. But yeah,
Yeah, suck it, Voss.
yeah,
You stop sponsoring the
fancy
show. We're not going to get
Hollywood
your.
bull
We're
crap. Uh,
we're we're strictly purified Walmart water in
Give
this
me some
house.
freaking, yeah, give me some Sam's Choice, some Seven
Oh
Eleven
my
Select. I
god!
don't care what it is, but give me the cheap stuff. It's all the same stuff. But yeah,
I want the water to be thicker than the bottle that's containing it. I want I want the plastic I'm drinking in there to basically be edible by the time I'm
oh
undoing
yeah,
that bottle cap.
absolutely, dude. But yeah, that's how I got by, and I thought, oh, I'll be here for a few months, and then I'm like, well, I literally said that. I'm like, see you in a few months to my roommate, and well, 7 years later, I'm still here somehow. I don't really know how.
I just I just can't believe like what a crazy opportunity, and like the what are the odds that Todd Howard found your PayPal and like gave you that 5 grand? Like that's, I mean, listen, like that's a charitable man right there.
I mean, I did get a lot of props from some Bethesda employees that would like DM me around the time I made that, and were like, "Yo, this is really good." And I'd be like, who's DMing me? What is this? And I look it up, and they like work at Bethesda. And I'm like, yo, someone from Bethesda just gave me props. That's amazing. That blew my mind. But I mean, talk about, you know, the motivation to want to keep going. It's just like, wow, maybe I don't totally suck despite what my brain tells me. But I moved out, and I booked a few jobs. And when I first moved here, another friend of mine, who has been doing voice acting for a very, very long time, Ben Diskin, was like, oh, he's like the voice of Number One, Number Two, and Codename Kids Next Door. And he's Eric Sparrow in the Tony Hawk's Underground games. And
I love your choices, by the way.
I
My
had
my
to
dumb
do
my
that.
dumb weeby my dumb weeby brain would just be like, yeah, Kingdom Hearts. That's the first thing I
That
think of when I
too,
think
that
of.
too, that too.
But no,
Young Legend
yes,
of Zelda
please.
is
Number
in
one,
and
Kids Next Door,
yeah,
Tony
Kids
Hawk.
Next Door,
Listen,
Tony
you've
Hawk.
peaked. That's the
I'm a
IMDb
'90s
right
kid. What can
there.
I say? I'm from the '90s, but he was like, "Hey, you're you don't suck, and can I pass your demo along to like a studio that I work with on occasion? It's like, I'm not gonna say no. Sure, please, if you feel like it's good enough. We did this one studio ended up giving me a lot for a lot of games that kept me afloat. So,
Do you remember what studio it was?
they're no longer around. They were called Benari.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, man, they did do a lot of stuff. I have to like pull it up and look with it, but I definitely come more from like the audio engineer side of things with it, and the amount of times like ironically when we would like be looking for people to like either have on the show, I would almost get more excited from like having like, oh man, I want to get like the VO director or like the audio engineer like on the show and talk with them about it. Whereas like obviously like in terms of like getting people on there's a very large chasm between here's this actor versus here's the dude who messed around with audio
Who
lines
made
of this, but
sound
like
as good as it does? Yeah.
exactly. Well, and I mean that's like also the funny thing, especially with like voice directors and stuff like out in LA. So many of them also do acting on their own. Like at least there's
Yeah.
like that kind of like tie in there.
Christian
By the way,
Lamont
shout out.
he's a director as well, and he's the voice of Demi-Fiend.
He is the voice. He's the grunts. He's the oomph. He's the all. There's got to be at least 100 lines for him. At least bare minimum 100 lines.
At least, yeah.
By the way, shout out because I had to look at a bit to Ben's IMDb. God bless. I hope that he put Kindergarten Cop as top billing on purpose. That has to be like someone paid for the IMDb Pro membership just to put Kindergarten Cop on top.
Yeah, he did a lot of. I mean, he did do a lot of live action stuff, but then he found his calling with voice acting, and I mean, he's a phenomenal performer. Anyway, you slice it, he's just super good. The dude was literally like doing this stuff since he was a baby, so I mean, he's born into it. But he's the best. Yeah.
So one of the weird little things that I thought of recently, because I was listening to an interview this week, which, man, I feel like I haven't heard this person's voice or said their name in like so many years. It was like such a weird out-of-body experience. God love him, Laszlo has been actually going around doing a bunch of like promotions and interviews for like Absurd Ventures new like podcast that's coming out.
I saw that. Yep.
And which, by the way, number one, like as someone who was like I've been a diehard like Laszlo like fan since before GTA 3. It was so funny
did
of
you,
like
listen to the Technophile and stuff in New York or something?
yeah, no,
way.
literally, I would listen to the Technophile. I had to be, which by the way, I was born in '93. I had to be about the only 11-year-old playing GTA 3 and be like, oh my god, it's Laszlo from the Technophile.
Because I listened to the Technophile just after GTA 3 came out.
And so
that's
like
wild that you listen to it first.
Oh yeah, well it was one of those things of like there weren't a lot of shows out there like that, or also that had much of a presence on the internet, in which like he was always like such a good, just like he's such a fantastic like host of like anything he's on, where they're like, even if he's being interviewed or even if he's like he finds a way of like being the center of attention without it coming off as smug, and even if it is smug, that's like part of the bit. It's like such a weird, like me describing why I have such a weird like clear affection for like this man with I don't think he's the ponytail anymore, but damn, when he had the ponytail, that was magnificent. But the funny thing with like Laszlo being back was he was talking about, because he's actually doing like a lot of the audio editing and stuff for the podcast they're doing. And he was describing on one of the shows like that they're doing them all in studio at Dolby, and they're doing them in Dolby at like I think it's a Dolby Atmos, the like sound like design for it. I'm like, I already think the idea of editing a podcast in stereo is probably overkill for how most people listen to shows. So the idea of like imagining like having to like work and like design around something with like 16 sound channels above, below, behind, and beside you and stuff like that, I could listen to like a 5-hour like conversation about just learning how to do that. Like that sounds so wild to me.
I mean you and I are nerds, and we listen to the freaking Technophile, but we listened to that like
cool kids were not listening to that show. That is a fact. No one.
But it was so awesome to listen to that stuff back in the day, because it was just fun to hear him talk about nerd stuff, especially as a little kid. Like, it wasn't the cool thing, but
No,
he
man,
was
I
pretty damn
learned
cool
so
to me.
many. I learned so many things I definitely should not have learned at such a
Oh
young
my
age, though,
God.
listening to
Oh
the
yeah,
Laszlo show.
absolutely. Same. But,
So,
you
did you
know,
ever watch any of his shows he did either on Sirius or after Sirius XM like
I
dropped?
did. I remember he had a lot of guests on there. Um,
He did, but what was funny was like they eventually got to the point where like during the like post GTA 4 DLC and like pre GTA 5 era, like they were doing podcasts basically like either in his house or at like Opie's house,
oh my, I
and it was like
remember
so,
that.
and it was so funny of like I have all of those downloaded. And I'm so glad they do because like there's a couple of them out there, but I'll have to like check like all because he used to have everything archived, and like you could basically like PayPal him like 20 or $30, and he would give you every episode of the show ever from like no matter what it was
That's
on,
amazing.
like from the first to the
Dude.
last of it. But they dropped it all
Oh,
because I think the last time you were able to buy them. Do you remember Big
I
Wayne?
sure do. Rest in peace.
So yeah, when he passed, it was like, hey, all the money from the show goes to him and his family to like cover the bills and everything else like that. And I think that was like the last episode, and like a year or two after he passed away, the website pretty much just became a like, hey, check out my here's a quick bio of who I am, and here's my Instagram. Like he pretty much doesn't do anything online anymore with it, and obviously since they haven't done any like promotional stuff or anything since like Red Dead 2. It's been so
Yeah.
long since I heard this person talk. Like it's been so wild of like seeing them do the circuits and talking again because like God, I forgot how much like I missed just listening to this
I
person.
feel the exact same way. I caught up with some of his stuff recently, and it took me right back to like 20 years ago, and just being like, this man is so intelligent and so skilled. It's just nice to hear him. You just, I don't know. It's just nice to hear him talk.
I know.
It's
Yeah, like,
just,
it, if it wasn't for the fact that he's working and like I'm so glad that him and Dan are also still working
yeah,
together and stuff like it makes me really excited about like the future. But the thing with them though is like I know they're doing a million projects at once. I would pay so much money if they would just go back and just do even like a monthly podcast, just to have an excuse to like catch up with them for it. Because like even just like the few little bits of things, it's been like so funny like hearing them talk about like, oh yeah, like I just haven't heard anything from these people since like 2019 at the most. Like, and we talk about 2021 feeling like a lifetime ago.
yeah,
That's like it's like we're getting to like high school reunion
right,
like levels for like a person I've never even met before.
right. It's, yeah, it's weird. But if he had the time and interest in doing something like that, like you say, like a little podcast or something on the side, if he had the time or interest, he would probably do it, and maybe that'll come around again. But I mean, he's doing so many great things now, and him and Dan being so creative just fills me with so much joy because it's just been so long since we've seen their creativity together.
Oh, I know. Like I'm optimistic. Like I'm sure you are as well about like the team like they still have over at Rockstar and stuff. Like I'm sure they're all going to like crush GTA 6, but like not having that team who's been there for 2 decades basically, that's got to be such a weird shadow that you cannot shake off until like you come out with like the most slam dunk thing possible.
I mean, their writing really did. That was so much of the personality of the Grand Theft Auto games and Rockstar, kind of in general, because Laszlo worked on Max Payne 3 and Red Dead Redemption as well. And in fact, my
I
scripts, my
mean,
scripts for Red Dead, I remember when I did that game, on the very top it said written by Dan Houser and Laszlo Jones, and Laszlo was my director for Red Dead Redemption. So meeting him was pretty wild, and he already knew who I was because I ran a GTA fan site called GTA Gaming back when I was like
R.I.P.
12 or 13 years old. Yeah. So that's how I
Who's
got in
paying?
with
Who's
them.
paying those hosting fees these days? By the way, what's
I don't know.
going
That
on
site
with
was kind of
GTA?
hijacked from me like many years ago, and I never really was able to get it back. So I
Oh,
haven't had
dang.
access to that site in a really long time. It was kind of pulled out from under me. um, by this dude named Sean Harkin, I guess, who was in Australia, who was like our original, not original, but a dude who came way later who was like, I'll help you. I'll help pay for your stuff if you let me run all my ads on it. And I was a little
Oh,
naive kid going, oh, that sounds great. And he reaped all the
what could
rewards. And
possibly go
yeah.
wrong?
And I'm like, oh, I don't care to get paid. I'm just doing this because I love it. And he's like, well, I like getting paid. So he, ran all these ads and made all these rules. And before I knew it, by the time I was diving into voice acting and learning with Lonnie a lot, um, that rug was just pulled out from under me. And he's like, this is mine now. I'm like, okay. So,
That sucks.
yeah. But by the time I did Red Dead, Laszlo had already known me from that website. In fact, Dan Hauser did too. So that
Well,
was
and I
weird.
mean, that kind of goes back to like the hey random person from like game developer. I feel like it still is true to this day, even with like how connected we are with like even like social media these days. Of like, there's something that hits different between, and this is like nothing against like even the specific people who run those accounts, but like there's something about the account being run for Atlas West liking your tweet saying, "Oh, hey, that's cool. Like, nice job on blah 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 or whatever you did," versus like, "Oh my God, here's the like director or the original writer of the series like found your account and shot you a DM and said, "Hey, thank you for covering this thing so passionately," or blah blah with it." Like that hits in like such a different way with it, and especially, and I know they are now, but like back then, like with basically like the GTA 3 era and on, like they were constantly in communications with like all those fan bases. Like
Hmm.
no matter how
Oh yeah.
big Rockstar was, they were still always so good at like being like in touch with their roots and stuff and like talking to the fans. And God, the amount of times like I mean like that like fans got brought in either to do like play testing or like come in and like do like bit roles or whatever,
Oh
whether
yeah.
it be like for radio
Yep.
things or like a one off, was like you don't even see that now.
No, but you can't, and you can't do that anymore. Unions have cracked down on just letting people in the offices do cameos and stuff like that. And you no longer can just, because back in the day it was like, Laszlo can go to his. I think he had his father on Chatterbox, and I think
Yeah,
it was like the
he
like
was
the pigeon dude,
he
right?
was the possum
Or
guy. I think it was
possum
the.
guy. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's right. That's where it was. Meat's real stringy, tastes like gold or whatever it was. Yeah, that dude. I think that was his father. So just to be like,
Yeah,
hey, Dad, I'm doing a thing. You want to jump in and just do this like 20-second record? Yeah, okay, sure, son. Can't really do that these days. There's so
yeah. Now
much.
we got to call him a scab. I don't want to call Laszlo's dad a
No,
scab.
no. So, things are very different now, and um, for better, or for worse. And it's just, I just the way it was back then, it was almost like a very, almost like a tight knit family. Even though they're a company, you still knew these. Like, there's still people at Rockstar Games that I know today that are still there, that are like
Hmm.
wonderful friends of mine that I hold dear. But uh, things are definitely different because back then, and a lot of people might not know this, but when I ran the fan site, they were also like, "Oh, you're getting into voice acting," and "Oh, you're like 17 now. You're not like 12 when we first talked to you. So, like, do you want to come to New York City because you're close by? Do you want to come by and test out our games and give us feedback and check out our early builds and stuff like that?" And I'm like, "Yes. Let me check my schedule. Yeah, sure." So they would send a car to come pick me up from my home, and they would have me stay in like a five-star hotel. This is me, a little scruffy little, kid with shaggy hair, with a
Oh yeah,
little
you want to talk about imposter
back.
syndrome? Like
Dude,
getting flown out to Rockstar.
dude, I walked in. I remember the first time I walked in this hotel, and I think the first one we stayed in was called the Standard, and it was anything but. It was in New York City, and I'm walking in there with my backpack and my hoodie, and I look like a scruffy little kid from the streets. Everybody in there's like a five-star, having freaking caviar in the little restaurant area, and chandelier and all these lights, and I'm like, checking in. And they're like, "Are you sure?" And like the whole place just goes dead quiet, and they're just looking at me like, "What's that thing doing here?" And I just went to my room like, "Wow, this is weird. I'm definitely not supposed to be here, but here I am." But they let us play like GTA 4 early. They had us, um, tell them what we think about it. And they did the same thing with like GTA 4, the DLC for GTA 4, Red Dead Redemption, Max Payne 3, LA Noire, GTA 5, pretty much anything Rockstar was working on. They'd be like, hey, we're doing a new game. Like it was like a yearly thing. Do you want to come out for an event again? Yes,
Hey, yeah, do you
absolutely.
remember when Rockstar put games out? That was a fun time.
Yeah,
That was a great
yeah,
time.
that's another lifetime ago. But every year it was like banger after banger. And I didn't really even get to finish them
Oh
all
my god.
within the year.
Casey, I need you to tell me. This might have been too early, but God, I hope it was. Please tell me at some point, and for no reason other than I always forget this is like the most underloved Rockstar game ever. Did you ever get to check out table tennis early?
No, that was before I think that was before I was even 17 or 18 or
That
whatever.
would have been
So
like I think was that
that
'05?
was
No, '06.
'05.
It was a
I think it was '05
was it
because that was like a
'05?
launch title for the
It
360, right?
was
Let me see.
I know, yeah, I knew it was 360, but I don't remember if it was launch year or not. But that still, because I think it's backwards compatible. That game is still
Oh yeah,
has no
May
right being as
'06.
good of
Huh.
a game as it was.
Yeah, we didn't check that one out. I think that one was something that was a tech demo for the was it the Rage engine?
You was it? I think Rage and was it Euphoria or Rage, or was Rage used Euphoria?
Oh my God, why am I drawing a blank on this? It's been so many years.
I just remember the dude with his hands up for like the little Euphoria engine
Maybe it
thing,
was
but like
Euphoria.
there
Maybe it
were
was
so many.
well, Rage is Rockstar's advanced game engine, so that would have been early
Yes,
Rage,
I
I
think
think.
I know. I think yeah. I think Euphoria was like the anime. There we go. Euphoria was like the physics engine
Right.
in
Yes,
Rage.
that makes more
Okay.
sense. Yeah. So it was more of a tech demo, and I think the Housers liked it so much they're like, let's turn this into an actual game, and it released as like a budget game, which I remember that's how the story went anyway. Maybe I'm wrong, but
No, yeah. That was one of those ones of like they put out because it was like at a discount. 360 was
hmm
popular. What could possibly go
yeah.
wrong? And it was one of those things that like that. I remember that and Bully Scholarship Edition.
Yep.
I was
Yep.
so mad that those were only on like Xbox and Nintendo and not on
Oh yeah.
PlayStation.
Man, I miss those guys. I miss, that whole culture of being excited for what they were working on and sharing it. Because when we would test out the games and come by and try them out, they had the developers there with us, the debuggers and stuff. I
Oh
remember,
yeah, it was
you
it.
know,
Those were not like those were not press meetings. Those
no,
were
no,
not
no. This
like
was,
we're not at.
yeah, this was very, very like, we're gonna bring in our Xbox 360 dev kits and hook them up, and you're gonna see us launch the game and PS3 dev kits, and that's we got to see them launch it and everything. So that's my first time really seeing higher tech dev kits in action. It fascinated me, but I remember them loading up GTA on it. Once in a while it would crash. I mean, it's early stuff, but it's wild at how things have changed and how lucky I was to have, like you said, way earlier, right place, right time. But I didn't know. I was just a nerd being like, hey, I'm gonna make a website for GTA because I love it. I have nothing better to do in life except for that and play Tony Hawk, I guess. And because I don't like doing my homework, so I might as well do that.
Which by the way, I know there are so many people out there like in terms of like people out there who do like not only acting but also do like a lot of like streaming or like other things in terms of like public facing with it. But like I can't ever tell you enough. Nothing ever makes me get more of a chuckle when like my wife will ask at 2 in the morning, like, what notification did you just get on your phone? I'm like, oh, it's Casey just streaming like Pro Skater or like at like 1 in the morning.
Once in a while, if I have like a day off or something, I'll be like, screw it, let's stream and hang out for a bit.
I will say though, shout out though the one time the one time slash first time we met last year at AX when she was asking, "Hey, who are you talking to today?" When I said your name, they were like, "Oh, was that the person you had sign the plushie's forehead?" And I was like, "Exactly." I'm glad she remembered that. That was the one. That was the one memorable moment she had that whole trip.
I desecrated that poor little thing.
Oh my god! I wish I could I need to pull up the picture of like when we gave that away. Like if I had allowed it, I think that room at the panel when we gave it away, like people would have turned it into like a battle royale.
Oh.
People wanted that like little Beano that you and like Damon had signed so bad. It was so because my worry was like I thought the idea of signing under the bangs was really funny, but then like my wife mentioned it'd be like I would hate it if someone had like scribbled on like my like this super rare plushie, and I was like, oh god, I hope they're not gonna like hate the idea of that. And like the person who got it was like freaking out.
Aw. Maybe they're freaking out because I lifted up the bangs and said, "Oh God, it's ruined."
Well, no, that was the funny thing. So I had told them in the beginning of the panel you could win one, and then when someone had won it, I lifted up the bangs to show them because I thought, well, at least at that point they'll want it until they've won it, and then if they don't want it, then if they really don't want it, we can see how the reaction is.
Like, I wanted it until I saw it was ruined. Thanks.
That would be one, by the way, of like, I've looked it up a couple of times, and thankfully has not been the case of like, if I ever saw that on eBay, I would be so sad.
Yeah.
But, no, like, literally, I have people who won cardboard from that panel. We got to, the joke was everyone's going to leave this panel with something at Anime Expo.
Cool.
And one of the things we had was those like SMT5 trading cards. And so
yeah.
everyone who came in got a card. So it was like whoever came in, like you get first dibs, everyone got at least one item. And we got to the point where we were running out of stuff to get. In terms of prizes, everyone got a card, but there was always like a thing of like, oh, you could get like a poster, you could get like a game or like something else with it. And we got to the point where someone was like, "Can I get the cardboard box that the cards came in?" Because the cardboard box was branded. And that person, shout out to them, still to this day, every now and then will let me know, be like, "Hey, I'm the guy who got that cardboard box. I still got it." And I'm like, that makes me so happy. Because they have to explain that. It's like, that's worse than like the guy who holds onto the iPhone box for no reason. It's like, oh, what's this large Bandai box for? Oh, it's for this card set. Oh, well, where's the cards? Oh, I didn't get them. I just wanted the box.
I'm terrible, dude. I still have my boxes for like my PS5 and stuff.
Oh, that box is huge, though. You need to keep that. Like, I feel...
I don't know why
like,
I have it. I don't.
It's... Well, I don't... There's got to be, like, some weird
point,
thing, like, in our brain as humans.
They had the 8K symbol on the box, and now it's no longer there.
See, yes, Casey, this goes back to my point of, like, you are still, like, such a enjoyer of, like, all these different, like, medias and stuff, and, like, that's what, like, is so fun about, like, talking to you, of it being, like, you've beaten SMT5 Vengeance before I have. That's the funny thing.
Well,
it's like you. But
I started
still
the Vengeance Review last night, but yeah, I wanted to blast through this because I have a lot of work coming up, and I'm like, if I don't beat this by this weekend, it's going to be a repeat of the original launch where I just get really, really far, and I get too particular about how I'm doing a quest or my collecting everything, and I'm trying to just complete everything. And you know what? I never beat that version. And I'm kicking myself in the butt for it, but I finally beat the game last night, and I feel great. I did it.
No, and I think like the fact that you also started with creation is even cooler because yeah, like since you never beat that original one, and you're now jumping into Vengeance, you're going to be like ripe for everything that's different is going to stand out even
immediately.
More.
And even though I still remember the original game very well, but having this nice refresher. When I started Vengeance last night, I immediately noticed things right in the beginning that are so subtle people might not even catch. And I'm like, oh, ooh, that's cool. So it's not just like, oh, play the game again, the intro, everything's going to be the same. No, there's things right in the beginning that are a little bit different, and you got to catch it. And I was like, ooh, that's cool. So that means I have to keep my eyes like really open for any little thing that's different now, which is really exciting.
So no spoilers, but like let's get like the quick kind of like rundown for it. So you finally beat it. Like how long was your first playthrough?
I think it said 64 hours, 65 hours, something like that.
And unless I'm forgetting anything, so this would be like your first proper SMT, like you've like started and finished.
I never beat SMT 3. I started it the day I recorded for the original 5, but I got stuck at one part way later in the game, and I just never went back to it and finished it, which I would still like to someday, because I'm sure with enough time, I just probably needed a couple days away from it and pick it up again. You know that feeling when you're on something for like a couple hours and you're like, I can't figure it out. And then you put it down for a minute and then you pick it back up and then you get it in like the first try. Like, why the hell didn't I get this 2 days ago?
Oh no, yeah. That I feel like no other genre does that happen with more than like RPGs of like this one specific task seems impossible until you take a night to sleep. You've done nothing else differently and you're doing it all the same and you like one shot
It literally
it.
happened with SMT5. With this, like I don't know, 4 days ago maybe. I was on the third part. No spoilers, but freaking labyrinth, and I could not figure out.
Oh, was it the fan one?
Uh
Like the labyrinth with all the fans or the one before that one?
no, it was still outside.
Oh, okay, all right.
But it
So
was-
this was like where like the war was happening
Yes.
with like the suitor and everything else like
and
that.
for whatever reason, I had the same issue on the original game, where it's like I can't figure out how to get to this one place. What the hell? I didn't want to look it up. I didn't want to look up a guide. I'm like, I'm just gonna figure this out. It's gotta be. Now that I have the sky view overhead thing, it's a lot easier to read where you need to be.
It's which is so funny because like that was one of those features that when they announced that I was like, what is this for? Like, what do I need this for? And then because it had been so long since I played it, I forgot that feeling of like when you get to those areas. Like I've had so many times people like even little things of like, how the fuck did that man get up there?
Yes!
How did I get?
Yeah.
How do I get to this little fucker on this
I see him up
roof?
here, I'm like, you little son of a. So I look, I hit overhead view, and I go, okay, I'm gonna find where he is and freaking backtrack. Okay, go around the building, go. Oh, there's a little path. I would have never saw that. Son of a gun. So I'm like, I got you now, bitch. And then I go get him, and then I get an extra meme on. But but yeah, it's very useful. But a couple days ago, I was running around like a dumbass, and I just couldn't figure out how to get through this one part. And it turned out I just had to go through a couple of buildings that I didn't realize I could just jump on one of the things. So I was like, man, I'll do this tomorrow. Saved it, went to sleep, woke up, immediately figured it out. It's like, wow, me from yesterday? Stupid as hell. Me today, this morning? Freaking genius. Just immediately figured it out.
So, without giving it away, do you know the name of the ending that you got? Like, would it be the like chaos, neutral, law?
I know that going down the list, I had 3 to choose from. I picked 2.
Okay. So one of the things that's been really funny as well about like I haven't had as much time as I wanted to with Vengeance yet. I'm just now beaten the first area on both routes because basically what happened was I had like one first weekend to kind of marathon through and play as much as I could on PS5, and then I've been so busy with my day job, I've been kind of like fiddling around with the canon of creation on my Switch as like a way of comparing because like hey, I don't know if you knew this, the Nintendo Switch, not as powerful as the PlayStation 5, and it's so funny because I was one of those people who were like, oh yeah, like, I thought the game looked beautiful on Switch, so now seeing it in 4K, in 60 FPS and stuff for it, it's like, it obviously is like such a great improvement for it, but then jumping back to Switch, I'm like, this still plays great. Like, if you only have a Switch, like, I wouldn't say like, oh no, yeah, never play the Switch version now. Like, it's still a super viable way to play.
I did start the Switch version a couple of nights ago, and yeah, at first I was like, oh, this is kind of jarring, going from PS5 and then going back to Switch. You adjust very quickly. You adjust within minutes, and you go, okay, and 10 minutes go by.
One of my favorite backhanded compliments to the Switch version. Someone said like, I don't even think they meant this in a mean way, but it's so true. Is the shimmering is so bad on the Switch version, it actually makes the sand look better. And I was like, it's so true though, because it's like, God, you're right. Yeah, that sand, a little too clean on PlayStation 5. I want a little more shimmer on that sand.
I actually shared that same thought when I was playing it. I'm like, I remember the sand being a little more shimmery. And then I played it on Switch, and I'm like, oh, it makes sense. lower resolution too. It might have been going into tech terms here, it might be like a particle that renders a specific
Yes.
way on why did I almost say renderware? I have GTA on the brain. On on oh my gosh, Unreal Engine. It might render it
Yeah,
that very
UE4.
specifically on like a that was where my mind went. Maybe in a lower resolution, the particle looks a little bit bigger, and that's why it gives this illusion of the sand being the glimmer shimmering being a much larger effect. Maybe, I don't know.
No, yeah, no. That's 100% it because yeah, like as much as I love and game dev friends will all agree, UE4 and UE5 is a really really great engine, but God, especially UE4. Absolutely loves to shit the bed when it has too many shader engines going. It just like if I had like seriously, if there was a day for like there was like such a funny thing where if you were an Unreal game launching on PC, your game was probably really ugly at launch just because they had to like patch and get all the shaders right because it was like an absolute nightmare to get and like the Switch even still had that, which funny little thing, but it still makes me laugh that they put this in here. I love how even on the Switch they kept the graphics setting that's on consoles.
I noticed that.
So like I can't think of like I don't know if I've ever seen a Switch game that lets you toggle ambient inclusion before.
Yeah.
I'm like, do Switch owners know what this
I was gonna
is?
say, like, I saw that in the options, and I was very surprised. I thought it was going to be way more limited because the PS5 games are you have that in a lot of performance mode and anti-aliasing or occlusion, whatever. But seeing that on Switch, I was like, huh. I didn't change the settings. I was afraid to. But I was curious to see if
your Switch was going to blow up.
Yeah, I know, right? But I don't know. It was just a little bit surprising to see that. I'm sure Digital Foundry or something is going to have a video on all of the comparisons and settings. Maybe.
That's tough. I think just because we're in a weird, I say busy season, but like let's be honest, everyone else is just playing Elden Ring. But like I would love to see that because I've seen a couple of other things of like one of my friends I follow on Twitter. He's a diehard Atlas fan, but his system of choice is Xbox, and I always love when games launch day one, the first thing he does two things, and this is such like a Spencer bait that I absolutely love. When he picks up the games physically, he checks if the Xbox One version is on the disc or if it's the Series version, because a lot of times games will just cheap out and just do the one because it's smaller, and then you have to download it, and then also compare the Xbox One version, because hey, you know that big ugly black VCR from 2013 that runs SMT5 now, and he was showing footage of it, and it was like it looks really good. Like I'm surprised like how well it like runs and everything for it.
I mean, it was a game that was already extremely optimized for the Switch, so I think porting it to like Xbox One and PS4. I mean, typically if you have like a PS5 game and something's made on obviously much grander hardware that can do so much more, and then you scale it back for a Switch or PS4 or something, it's going to noticeably chug and look weird at times. But for a game like this, it's already created on the Switch kind of from like the ground up. I guess it should be perfectly fine on the other systems. I haven't tried it on Xbox yet, but I did see it includes the full game on Xbox One and Series X on disc.
I was very pleasantly surprised because P3R did not do that, which was a bummer.
And the game was actually on the disc. When I got Starfield and my Xbox wasn't even connected to the internet, I installed it from the disc going, good enough for now until I could, plug everything in later. And when it installed from the disc, it said, you have to download the rest. You can't even play it. You got to download the rest of the game and then unlock it with a key or whatever. I'm like, what? Jesus. So I had to
Casey, I don't know if you can properly understand my level of disappointment. So I bought a Series X the day Halo came out. Because I was like, I'd never played Halo before. I'd owned Xboxes before, but I had never played Halo. And so I was like, it's launch day. I bought the special edition system. I even bought the big ugly mini fridge. Like, I was ready for this Xbox. And I was like, let's go. And like, this is how committed I was. So when you buy that Xbox system like the Halo branded one, it gives you a code. I had Game Pass. Like, they were practically throwing me Halo Infinite. I did not need to buy it, but I bought a physical copy of Halo Infinite, and I remember putting it in, and I was like, there's nothing on this disc. Like, you can't even, like, it's not even a boot up screen.
Really?
It's basically like, literally, there's no campaign, no multiplayer. That disc is like when you get a Call of Duty game and like how it just has you install 900 gigs. That's what Halo Infinite is, and it was such a
So
disappointment.
there's nothing actually on the disc. It's just like
No,
it's
yeah.
the shell of
'Cause, like,
what you can download.
Because in my brain, I was thinking, like, oh, I should try to play this unpatched because with Halo Infinite, because it was delayed so long, usually, like, if they printed the disc before, like, the delays had really, like, taken into effect, there might have been, like, an older build of the game and stuff, and I love checking
Yeah,
out things like
same.
that. No, there's nothing on that disc. That disc is, like, the Steelbook for that disc has more information hidden in it than the Blu-ray does.
Wow. I wonder if anyone is taking a look at what's actually on it.
I really wonder because yeah, like I mean, there's a chance I guess it has something for the Xbox One version on there, but I hadn't checked and whatnot with that, but it was just so weird because like yeah, you mentioned like with Starfield and like Forza and other ones like they'll have something on there, but obviously you can't start it, but there will at least be something you can start. Whereas like this just straight up is like nope, you're downloading the game now.
That's unfortunate. I don't like that. Not a fan.
No,
No, sir. I don't
no,
like
I like buying my games knowing that when the apocalypse will come, I can look at my copy of Soul Hackers 2 and know that I'll be able to play
So when
it.
we look out the window and we see demons and a lot of uh, possibly glimmering sand, depending on what resolution we're at, I know that the games will play when we have no internet.
That's true. And like also I don't know if like you had much of a reaction to this, but like this is such a first world problem thing, but always does rub me the wrong ways when companies do this of like I know why they delisted SMT5, but I hate that it's delisted at the same time. Like, it's not a big deal. I know there's a million copies of it printed out there, but the fact that there's like, it's one of those things where, oh, I just hate seeing like anything get like removed when it legally didn't have to be.
Yeah, but I got the physical, so I'm good.
Yeah, you're all good. Yeah, you got that steel.
People ought to get physical copies if they can. But that's
Well, and also the funny thing with the old man physical voice that I always think is like funny is like I've never known anyone who got a better deal buying digital over physical. Physical like always goes on sale way faster than digital.
physical. I just bought a physical copy of Baldur's Gate 3 in Japan for $20. $10 shipping. My friend bought it digitally. He paid $80 total.
Now,
There's no
I
physical
will
in the
say,
States, but it's the same game.
so did you know that they actually are, Larian is actually doing an English release physical?
Yeah, but it's going to be really expensive because it comes with like a...
It is, but I will say this. I'm probably not going to buy it like on both versions, but I'll at least pick it up on like PlayStation. But the fact that I think at this point the Xbox version they're going to have to ship it on 4 disc, and as someone who remembers those old 360 days of like the late generation games coming on like a handful of discs was so funny to me. Like I remember like Doom was that way.
GTA 5?
There was a couple of GTA 5 I think was
two
it was
2 discs.
at least 2
2,
discs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 13
but it was like
had like
3
at
discs.
least, I think, yeah.
Yeah, Final Fantasy, which was hilarious because it was literally just because the FMVs. There was
Yep.
was nothing else on those discs. But yeah, it's really funny and stuff like always comparing those of it. But like, oh yeah,
Even
especially
actually
like
Red Dead Game of the Year edition had 2 discs. Come to think of it, because
yeah,
it couldn't
I
fit
forgot
it all
about that.
on one. Yeah.
I think yeah, GTA 4 Complete was also a funny one of like I remember having to explain to my father why I had to buy GTA 4 again physically. He was like, "Well, why are you buying it?" And I was like, "Dad, you don't get it. This one has an exclusive radio station. You can't download it. You have to get the disc for the radio station."
Which one was that for?
4 Complete. So they had Flash FM basically from
It was
Vice
the
City with new songs.
Vice City FM, right? I think. Yep, that's the one I remember. Yeah.
Yep. And he was like, well, I'm a sucker for anything Vice City, so I'm legally obligated to buy this now.
Same. See, I was given a code back when, companies gave codes more freely. for the DLC for GTA, and I had it on Xbox because they actually gave me one of the events was a custom like painted Xbox 360 for the Lost and Damned. So,
Oh my God! Please tell me you still have
oh, I
that
do. I have it
360.
right. I still have it here. It's like pristine. I used it once in the hotel room.
Never
Like
again.
never again. Yeah, because
It's in a hermetically sealed chamber in your
'cause I was
basement.
afraid that it was going to red ring. And I asked my
Well,
friends at
oh, because it
Rockstar.
was a launch. Yeah, that would have been a launch 360,
It would
right?
have been near launch. It wasn't launch, but it was definitely a couple of years after. So I think they fixed the main issue, but it was still in the style of the original
Like
design.
with the faceplates and stuff.
So I remember telling a couple of my friends at Rockstar, I was like, I'm afraid to use this thing. What if it red rings? And they're like, well, you could just send it to us, and we'll make sure that our guys can take care of it for you. I don't know if that offer is still on the table, so I'm.
The offer is still valid.
I'm pretty sure it's
You're gonna confuse someone at Rockstar North very much. Like it was like, who's Casey and why are we fixing their Red Ring 360 in 2030?
That will be me. That will be me someday. I'm gonna play it. It's gonna die immediately, and I'm gonna be like,
I don't know how you would feel about
Mr.
this, but
Hauser,
like,
can you fix my thing, please? Thank you.
it will be the Hauser brothers will do an all-nighter fixing your 360. That's the only people who would do it, no less.
I'd be okay with that.
So, I feel like you've got to do, like, if not like a video, at the very least like a shaky cam live stream of like your collection of stuff. Because I feel like you have just got to have such a weird treasure trove of things you've gotten through the years.
I really do. From QA testing games, I still have a lot of the early copies that they told us they wanted to send back, but they said it was optional. But if we did, they would send us a final copy. Even me as a little kid was like, no, I know this is unique. I'm not letting this go.
Oh, yeah.
So I still have...
Bro, you would not believe the
prototypes.
songs that I have on
Yeah.
my beta build of Beta Raider over here. I've got the most unhinged copy of Beta Raider on the PSP you've ever seen in your life.
Awesome. I've got so many prototypes. I've got so much Rockstar stuff over the years. All these collectibles from GTA 3 onwards. So I've got things that I look on eBay now, go for thousands of, if not maybe at least a few hundred. Tons of stuff that I've saved over the years, like a Vice City Coke mirror, which I didn't even know what it was at the time because I was like 12 or whatever, 13.
Yeah, now that you moved to LA, you've got that
Now I'm
massive
like, oh,
Coke
that's what
addiction.
that-
You're like, man, thank God I've got this Coke mirror now. Thank you,
I go to
Rockstar.
cars, I go, that's what that was. I have like a pillow, some like martini drink stir stuff, a million different Rockstar stickers of like different studios that are no longer, like different branches of Rockstar. They're no longer around. Just all that stuff from GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, Liberty City Stories, Vice City Stories, GTA 4, and just everything like up until GTA 5. And I even have some Red Dead 2 stuff, come to think of it. That was the last time I think I got stuff from them. I guess that was the last game release, wasn't it?
I don't remember. It might have been something they sold on like the Rockstar store back in the day, but like my go-to set of playing cards for the last literally 10 plus years of my life have been like a set of Red Dead Redemption 1 trading cards.
I got a few packs of those. They sent me Dynamite.
Oh, I
Candles.
forgot. Yeah, wasn't it soap? Was it the Dynamite soap or
there's
what
soap
was it?
too, but there's Dynamite candles. There's one they sent me. They sent me a prototype one with a non-final box, which I still have. And then when they had the final version of the Dynamite, they had it in the actual like proper box and sent me that too. They were very generous. They're just like, hey, we know you're gonna get a kick out of this stuff. You're gonna love it. Check it out. Here, this is yours. And I was just the giddiest mofo on the planet. Every time that stuff would come in, I'd be like, oh my god. We went to one of the events.
Yeah,
they gave us an
like-
actual grenade that was hollowed out.
Oh, I think I remember. Was that the one for GTA 4?
Yep.
Yes,
So I got
I've
some
seen that.
grenades, actual grenades. I feel bad for the people who flew in from England. Good luck.
No, that's what I was gonna say. I remember the story of like a buddy of mine went out to the party where they handed those out and had to fly back, and TSA kept him overnight and he missed his flight because he had to explain why he had a grenade
I
in his
wonder if
luggage.
it's one of the fan site guys that I knew.
Oh my god, that
Because
is
I think
really,
I remember that
really
happening.
funny.
We also, the Max Payne 3 event we did, Same similar situation. They gave us a Max Payne 3 giant bag, like duffel bag with a bunch of stuff in it. But from the event was a bunch of like ammo cases, like shells everywhere. Like actual live
Yeah, because
ammo.
it was like a legit duffel bag,
Oh, yeah.
like you would rob a bank with, big
yeah.
duffel
If I
bag.
was going to rob a bank, it'd be with this one. It also really confused people when they saw Max Payne. They're like, is that a Max Payne 3 logo on the... But
I would be that guy at the robbery at the bank. I'd be the guy who'd be like, is that Max Payne
like,
3?
hey, nice. But yeah, we had all those. So I have grenades, dynamite, bullets, and so many.
Your home environment sounds very cozy.
It's very interesting. I've got like all these consoles. I've got classic stuff, retro stuff, unique stuff. Just, I guess I do have a weird collection going on. Maybe I should someday. If I actually get like a house someday, and I could have a proper place to like put everything, I will definitely record and be like, "This is from this. I was a wee little baby then. Remember I got this grenade? I was 13."
See, what we need to do is just film the most like unhinged episode of MTV Cribs
my
with you.
God,
That's what needs to
I would do
happen.
it.
Who was the host of Cribs? I always forget that.
Gosh, I guess it's as good as mine.
It was someone famous. It wasn't like it was just one of the like MTV like rando like hosts, was it?
I mean, I'm thinking, was it like...
Our Google searches are getting a lot of use on this episode.
Do I really want to Google this? I'm thinking, I know it wasn't Carson Daly, but I remember he was just all over the...
It was
not him.
I don't know why.
Him.
Google what?
MTV Cribs host,
here we
go.
Originally, no, this is the narrator. Let's see.
Host.
Yeah, he was
Lavin.
the narrator of it. I guess was it one of those things of because Cribs didn't really have a host, it had the camera crew following around the person
who owned the place.
So I guess the narrator would have been the host in a way, but yeah, you were being walked through the house without an actual person there.
When I get a house, we're gonna do this episode.
I am very excited.
I have a whole room for SMT stuff because it's probably.
Oh yeah, going back to your SMT5 shrine, has your copy of the PS4 version come in yet?
That is going to be an interesting one. That's the.
I did find out it will have English.
Oh, absolutely!
It's on the disc with English, which is nice.
I didn't even know this, but a couple of my friends in Japan, who've been playing it, said that they switched the voice option to English just so they can hear me. And I mean, I haven't seen my friends in Japan in like 5 years at this point, but
that's why they bought the game, so they could live vicariously and pretend what it's like hanging out with Casey.
They didn't. I didn't even know that you could do that on the Japanese version, switch the language to English, because you couldn't do that on the Japanese version originally on the Switch.
Yeah, you had to download a voice patch.
I don't even know if that was available in Japan.
So it was, but it wasn't at launch. It came later, which was kind of funny.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because what was funny was, and I feel like every country, there's always that situation where it's the opposite. Like you hear those people who are like, no. In Japan, they all play Kingdom Hearts in English, and then in America, everyone says the Japanese voices are better. Like it's funny of like. And I hear this a lot less with the Japanese voices for SMT5 especially, but I think because the vocal range between you and the Japanese voice actor for Nahabino is so different, I totally get why people would prefer one version over the other, but like I think especially because of like I heard yours first, and I didn't hear the Japanese one until the game launched, and I checked it out like when I was reviewing it. I remember being like, oh yeah, like just being like, you could just tell me this was like a fan mod. Like it sounded so different to yours that I was like, I could not imagine listening to it for the whole game.
Yeah, it's very different. It's still phenomenal though, because when I got the Japanese version, I wanted to, because at launch we couldn't use the Japanese voices. So when I got my Japanese copy in, I played a bunch of the game in Japanese just to see how it all came out, and it sounds phenomenal. It still sounds great. So. I mean, people can play it in whatever language they want. I say play it in both just to see how everyone did. And languages,
I always
are
wish
awesome in both versions.
I always wish other games took what fighting games do for voice selection of like I loved how when fighting games they would usually let you pick a character if they were going to be English or Japanese
Right.
so you could crisscross them over because I always thought like why not like you're just switching the voice files around with it. It's not like you just have to load one or the other when they're all being rendered in real time. So it's always like that funny thing out there of like I like to imagine that there's like someone's like fan mod for like SMT5 is going to be like all like oops all Japanese voice acting except you. You're still Nahabino, but everyone else is speaking
Oh
Japanese.
gosh, that'd be kind of funny. I remember there was a promo video where I think this was a original SMT where uh, my voice was on the Japanese one of the trailers in Japan instead of the Japanese version.
Hmm.
And also when Vengeance came out, they had some of the Japanese Nahabino in one of the videos for the English trailer.
Yeah, the reveal trailer was all in Japanese.
But when they came out with the English trailer, the Nahabino had both me and the Japanese actor in the same video. So it was like
Oh, that's
one of
so
it was
weird.
him, and then another part later on was me, and I was like, oh, that's weird. But sometimes these things happen with the footage and stuff that they have. So not a big deal. I just thought it was kind of cool.
Listen, after I saw that original trailer leak for The Mummy, I'll never question anything that happens of what gets posted online.
Fair, fair.
A couple other like SMT questions for you, so we can try and not keep you here all day
Sure.
and get you out of here. Any like kind of final takeaways after beating Creation that have got you excited to check out and compare in Vengeance with what you already know?
I mean, I don't know what's going to be different so far. I mean, what they've revealed.
Girl. It's the girl route.
Girl,
There's just a girl power all the
girl
time. You're
power.
just high-fiving Yoka. Which, by the way, before release, if you told me people were going to be making images of Yoko with fucking Mike Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad, I would not have believed you, but man, I'm glad this is the world we
I
live
would
in.
have because it's the internet. Anything can happen. Nothing surprises me anymore.
That's
I've been on
true.
the internet a
That's
long
true.
time. Things don't really shock me anymore. But it's pretty great. So I know we have the new form. I don't know when that comes in, but I'm excited to finally use it. Um, Girl Route is going to be. Had my first encounter with her in the Vengeance route last night, and it was really cool. I was like, oh, immediately like, oh, I know the scene. Oh, but wait, there's more, and everything changes, and it's really cool how they handled that so seamlessly. Just transitioned into the new content, just great.
It's really funny, but like such a tiny thing, such as having human playable guest characters again, is such a weirdly nostalgic thing because we haven't had it in like 11 years.
Oh wow,
Um, but one of the other things I was gonna bring up for us. So you mentioned you were recording this last year for
yes.
Vengeance. So when you saw the new Nahabino design, like the purple one for it, I have to ask, was there any part of you that was like, how quickly can I commission someone to do a Kenny outfit of this Nahabino?
uh, that wasn't the first thought I had, but definitely after I saw it in motion in the trailers, people were tagging me in it, being like, it's Kenny. He's got this face
It's
covered.
like the mouth being covered is so perfect. It was like I need to learn all about this little purple bean
I'll
all
just
so
redo my
bad.
lines, but like as Kenny, like or
Oh
stuff like
yeah,
that.
no, yeah. I haven't gotten to that point yet, so I hope you know. I'm expecting all of them to just be little mannerisms. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think. So obvious, because like it's always weirder when like something's coming out before reaction for it. Of like we were always kind of wondering for a couple of years with SMT5 specifically of okay, we knew it was a Switch exclusive, but we knew it's obviously not going to be a Switch exclusive forever for it. So when you kind of got that call one day to come back and do more, finding out, oh, this is more than just like a port to like PC or something like that with it. What was your kind of reaction after seeing the reception that 5 got all those years ago?
So I didn't entirely know what was going to be we were
Yeah,
just
like, damn, this is
told
a
it
big
was going to
DLC.
be.
This is a
I
really
mean,
big
they
DLC
just
we're in.
said more content for it, and I didn't know if it was just going to be a little DLC for like a Switch version, or we didn't actually know. I remember not knowing if it was coming to other consoles, and um, I was wondering if all the new stuff we were doing was going to be still just, I had no idea because, we're not told that stuff. But for my own curiosity, I was very like wondering, and I think we found out around the same time everybody else did what consoles it was coming out for. But I knew it was quite a lot story wise because I was doing another game at the same studio, and then I think I had like finished, and then Damon was in doing some more Algami stuff. And before I left, he's like, or they were like on break or something, like, hey, do you want to sit in and just watch for a little bit? I'm like, yeah, I got a minute. So I probably sat and watched him record new Algami dialogue for like an hour. And not having beaten the original story, I could already tell that, like, wait a minute, this sort of thing he's talking about wasn't in the original game. So,
Hmm.
okay. So I got like a little taste of what the story of the Vengeance line might have, just by watching him record for a bit, and it was really cool to see that live. Just because I haven't seen him do that character live. So
And I was just trying to think with this. So, time-wise, would this, I guess, been around the time when you were also doing stuff for Unicorn Overlord?
that probably would have been around the same. Well, honestly,
I know it's like
it's
all a blur
kind
at
of a
this point with it.
it's
I'm
kind of a blur because
like,
I'm always in and out of studios like every other day. So I feel like it was probably around that time because Unicorn came out
yeah, because
in what, beginning-ish of this year, like March or something, I think.
yeah,
April
and
maybe.
I'm pretty sure both were Cup of Tea.
Yes, they
I'm
were. Yep.
yeah,
And
okay.
trying to think of timeline. Yeah, it might have been that, or it might have
Well,
been something else. But
we'll just say it was Shenmue 4. You did
but
Shenmue
Shenmue
4, no
4,
big deal.
you see,
Shenmue 4 was a
it
great
was a great
recording
great session. I
chance.
wrapped everything for that.
Yu Suzuki directed you himself. That
He
was
was
even
so
more
impressed
crazy.
with my work on Shenmue 3 that he requested. No,
Famously, he still hasn't learned English, but he did a great job directing you, though.
I mean, I think he was there for the Shenmue 3 sessions. I remember like knowing he was in the building and kind of like seeing him in the other room, but he wasn't.
I'm just
He was actually
imagining someone
directing
like giving
some of
you.
Corey Marshall and Brianna Knickerbocker, who,
Yes, I know.
yeah,
Yeah, he did
he was
direct them.
actually
I know
there,
that
which
one
is
for
really cool.
sure. I'm just imagining like when you like came in, someone does the like 9/11 George Bush lean down moment of like, Yu Suzuki has entered the building. I'd be like, oh my god,
Another
oh my god, what am I
another
wearing? What am
client
I
has
doing?
entered the building. Yeah. Um. Yeah, that happens
So
sometimes. You're in a studio and you're like, "Is that?" Yes, it is. Oh.
there's a handful
Wow.
of now that I'm reflecting upon it, very elderly Japanese men who would make me nervous if I found out they were in the same building as me. Yu Suzuki is definitely one of them, and I'd probably also put like Kojima's a given, but also like Fumito Ueda.
Mm.
I've been friends with him on Facebook for 12 years, and I'm still too scared to send him a message on Facebook. I just like all I want to tell him is like I need him. I just need this man to know how much I love The Last Guardian.
uh,
It's very important to me. I need this man to know this. But going back to 5, and this is kind of like a past and future question a little bit for
sure.
you because we had talked about the reception leading up to launch originally back like right before launch day, but it's even kind of crazier now of like the success that it had, the legacy that it's had, and then it all kind of bubbling back up again when Vengeance got announced. So, like, kind of leading up to that Nintendo Direct before it got announced, like, what was your takeaway, let's say, at the beginning of this year of, like, oh, hey, like, it's weird being a part of this game and community now versus it's just at another massive release, everyone's playing it, everyone's really loving it. Like, how's it kind of been comparing the two launches, like, in retrospect?
It's strange because I was never really like a protagonist in a game quite like this before. So I had that first like taste of being part of um a release like this, like a game quite like this in that way, in such an important role that you're essentially we're going on that journey together throughout the entire game. So that when we do games and stuff, sometimes they don't get played by a whole lot of people, or you're playing a character that is not uh the character could be easily missable, or they're just smaller, so it's not really that big of a deal. But for one like this, like that was a big deal. So that launch was pretty big for me, because a lot of people who were playing the game and that were diehard SMT fans were like, "This is awesome. Do you know what you're a part of now?" And I'm like,
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know.
it's too late. You can't go. You can't go
Can't go
back
back.
now. Yeah, you'll be part of the fandom no matter if you want to or not at this
I'm
point.
okay with that, and I like to pop into people's streams too and just lurk and watch the pros do it, and they show me how it's done. They teach me in passing. But with Vengeance launch, it was it didn't have that initial oh my god, but my feeling was more, instead of like, wow, people are going to see this wildly anticipated game. Remember, I didn't know the story at all because I had only done the protagonist in the original game, so I knew nothing about the story at all. So that's a weird thing too. Working on I was the last addition to the cast. I was the last person they recorded um, for the
Which
original game.
which I remember when you told me that, I was like, it makes sense, but that's still such a wild thing for it. Of like, this game is literally sold with like your performance of like we hear you more than anything, but like the amount of context you have is like next to none.
That's why I was kind of nervous too, because a lot of games, you don't want your noises that you hear repeatedly. You don't want it to sound too grating or annoying. So things had to be grounded enough to where it's not like you do an attack move over and over and over. It can't be like, when you're in the overworld and you're doing your stuff like that, and then rather than going, yeah, 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 that'd be so annoying as hell. So, we had to make sure everything was to the point you could listen to it over and over and it doesn't get too annoying for the player. Um, which goes for any game that you're like a player character in or in general. But yeah, it's pretty wild to think that this many people are playing the game. It's 1.6 million now, I think, right? Between
Yeah,
five and
which was
Vengeance.
Yeah, it was 500,000 with the first week, which is extra crazy because it took
Sheesh.
the first game almost a month to make 1 million.
Wow. See, I'm excited because everybody can play it now.
Oh
PC,
my god, no, that's
PlayStation,
like the best. I mean, are you
Xbox.
ready for like the depraved mods that those PC sickos are going to be
Oh,
doing?
I mean, some of my friends have been like, "Hey, have you seen what they did? Like already, what has been done like before it was even on PC?" Oh my God. But people made some cool stuff, and now people can make stuff, a lot easier on PC, I would imagine. Um,
I want to see the I forget what it's called, but like when people crank up the facial reactions to like 1,000%, where it's like you'll be saying Aramasa, but your lips are like halfway across your face or something. Like I want to see like those of like I need to see balding.
oh
Nahabino,
God,
like not full bald
Naha
head, but
balding,
like there are noticeable like bald spots.
Baldovino. Oh, that's
Yes,
cursed.
Baldo Baldobino.
I don't like it. That's scary. That or I remember people made different color mods, which is cool. There's like a pink one, purple one, green, and that stuff was pretty cool.
The first mod I saw for the Switch version back in the day, I remember I didn't even realize it till I was playing, but someone had given me a modded Switch, and they were showing me their like profile of like, hey, how far they were in their game, and the only mod they had installed for the Switch version was replace every footstep with the foot walking sound from SpongeBob, where it's like that little squeaky
No
noise. And
way.
I was like, I've been playing this for 10 minutes and I hadn't even noticed, and it was so
That's
funny.
so. I need to see footage of that. That's funny. Wait for
But yeah,
someone to make
like,
like a car cat model or something for
oh my
Nahabino
god.
and run around as car cat. Just it's the same voice, just slashing everything.
Let me tell you, by the way, I don't think I can ever look at a empty park bench ever the same after playing this game.
Same.
Man, I was aware, slash, I imagine anyone at Atlas while developing it was aware of, like, there was already, like, very big Dom Daddy vibes from Aogami, but, like, especially now with, like, all the bench scenes, it's
Oh,
like,
jeez.
you're just asking for it, guys. Like, you know what you're doing. You're doing this on
The first thing he
purpose.
does when you get to, I think, the first bench is he like kneels down in front of you or something. He's like, "Are
hmm
you okay? Let me check your vitals." And yeah. It's like, "Oh, oh, uh,
And
hi."
and I mean, like, it's such a funny thing. It made me so happy though, because like literally one of my biggest complaints of the game was like I love the dynamic of your two characters together, but when you're the same character, it's always kind of hard to give them like that moment of like reminding you that they are still their own individual person. So like that adds so much to it. And by the way, like I think it's the same comic artist we talked about from like Japan or whatever, but like I saw so many cute little like drawings and stuff of that scene when you
Same.
get to your first haunt
Yeah,
and they're like, here's a gift, give it to your favorite
yeah.
demon, and it's like, why can't I give it to
I
you?
know.
I just want to give it.
I tried.
You know they're gonna like have to patch that in. They're gonna have to be like, you're now allowed to give gifts to Aogami, but there will be no effect. You just get to give him
It'll
gifts.
just be like a reused voice line that's like, "I will continue to provide support," or something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, like think about it. They could get like the most easy win ever of like you can give him one, but nothing will change, and then his explanation will just be like, oh well, my relationship with you can't deepen anymore because I already love you, and I'll be like,
Oh man,
oh no.
that would yeah, that would send the internet into a bit of a
Yeah,
frenzy.
Blaze. It'll
Yeah,
it'll just
yeah.
melt it down completely for it. But kind of then going back to like the reaction and reception to everything for it.
Mm.
You and me got the chance to go to the concert last year at Anime Expo.
Yes.
I didn't actually get to really ask you about it too much with it. What was that like for you of not only seeing all of us sickos gathering in one spot, but then like this crazy concert they put on?
Surreal. I think I said this on stage too, but it was it was definitely the wildest experience I've had as a voice actor. Like in this 2 hours we've been chatting, you see where I've come from. Like I'm gonna make a mod for Oblivion. I'm gonna just try this thing out because it seems like fun. I didn't expect it to go anywhere. So having it take me all the way to being on stage in front of all these amazing fans of this amazing game just blew my mind. The fact that I was like wanted there and people were like cheering and I yelled Aramasa into the mic and everybody was like, "Whoa!" It's like just being there with that amazing uh, performance too from the Band of Shadows was just like me, Damon, and Christian were just sitting there as they were performing. Like, can you believe this is our life? How the hell did we get here? What? Ha. So just seeing that and experiencing that was just very surreal from start to finish because it's not something that we really do. The most we do are typically events like at a convention maybe where we have like some little like meet and greets or we do like a panel talking about stuff for like an hour. But that was I've never experienced anything quite like that. Being like the host of this event that just was just so amazing. I don't have words for it that could describe just how grand it was and how kind of magical it felt to be there. Like what did I do right? Like this is really surreal. Like everything was just went so well that night, and I was nervous as hell because I'm not like a host type person, and neither is Damon. We were both backstage being like, "What? Whew, uh, you ready?" It's like, "Yeah, I guess so." I'm like, "Okay." And Christian, come on, like the rock star he is, he's like, "I got you guys. I've been to enough rock concerts to know how this needs to go." So we walk on stage and we're like, "Hi, hello, yay." And he just like, "What's up, everyone?" And me and Damon were just looking at each other like, "Thank God." He's got this energy of like
Here's the
star
extrovert
power.
of
Yeah,
group.
the
Here we go.
extrovert over here. Or at least the dude who can really who knows how to channel the energy of a rock star. And
Well, and it's funny because, like, from a fan's perspective of being there, it wasn't even really like billed as like you guys were the host or anything. It was kind of it was interesting of like how that kind of happened last minute, at least from our side of it. Of like even something as tiny as like the VIP thing ahead of time.
oh yeah,
I was like, oh, well, like I'm gonna buy it just because. Listen, if I'm already flying to LA halfway across the country, I might as well make this
go
as
all
a
out. Yeah.
poorly expend. Yeah, exactly. And it was just so funny. Of like, if you had told me not even a year ago, even like 6 months ago, hey, you're gonna be in a lounge before a concert where there's hors d'oeuvres and you're just listening to video game music
Oh yeah.
about this one series you've been talking about the last 10 years of your life. And I'm like, no, that seems very weird. I don't know how that get made up. Because, like, the fact that I went to AX for that concert, and I mean, like, no shame on AX at all. It was my first year going there. I would actually love to go back, as much of a giant like cluster of people as it was for it. Like that's a crazy convention. That concert was miles and miles away. The best part about going out there, like I had friends who literally flew in day of for the concert and left. Like that was all they wanted to
Wow.
do, and they had no complaint. Like everybody in that show, like everything went off great. Everyone had a great time. So many people got to like me. Like I met so many people that I've like known online for close to a decade or more
Oh, that's
there,
cool.
who I got to meet for the first time, and
Oh,
it's
that's
like
cool.
it's so funny that like this is that concert that brought us together. Like it's not like it's this massive, crazy, huge experience, but it was like it was just the right size. It was just the right location. Like everything went off really great, and it was such a nice experience of like everyone's there. We're all a fan, and my like honestly, my only big takeaway from it now has been like. And I know everyone who was running the show's been trying the same thing of like, I would love for that to be a reoccurring thing they can do. Like, I would love to see them take that on the road if they
That
could.
would be cool. Yeah, the performance was, dude.
They crushed it.
SMT
And what's funny
music
is I didn't.
is fucking peak, dude. So seeing that played live, I was, and I'm a musician too, and I don't really do that too much in my adult life because I don't really have room for instruments here. But I appreciate how that performed. Like everything about that was just peak, and people are gonna love that. I mean, people loved it at the event. Like the music was just perfect. It blew my mind hearing that music being played. Like I couldn't believe it as they were playing it. It was like a dream.
Yeah, it was. There was a really funny moment towards the end where, because while all of us were waiting in line before it had started, or even while just like waiting at the like front of the stage, we were all like, okay, what's the one song you want to hear? Because like I feel like there's always that one thing like when you're at a concert or even just thinking like, oh, what would be really sick just to hear performed live? And I remember mine was like, it's such an easy gimme, but I was like, God, I need to hear it. I was like, I want to see someone do on the keyboard the most sick, nasty, like cathedral theme from SMT5 possible when you're doing the
Ah,
fusion, and then when that like came and like that video of it, I'm so glad is up there too. Of like they were just eating it up. Like you could tell everybody on that stage, like because it was like a pretty like it was like around like 6 or 7 of them all together like
yeah.
performing.
Oh yeah.
Like it was, they were all like they had really good like synergy
Oh,
and stuff for
absolutely.
it. Like it was great.
Yeah, it all flowed together so wonderfully. We didn't even know what to expect as far as the performance and what we were going to do. We had this event planned for a really long time, but we didn't actually get real details until probably the day of. So,
And were you guys?
surprised.
Did you guys watch most of it backstage, or where did you
We
guys
were
actually get to
actually
watch it
just
from?
kind of, just when we go off stage, we would just be kind of off to the side and just watching them,
Mm-hmm.
and with all the sound people working their magic, and just observing and taking in the music, which is just an experience. It was really wild. We didn't
Actually,
go back
that
to it wasn't just like, I'm gonna be in my dressing room. I'll see you in 15 when they're done. It's like, no, we're just absorbing the energy and from the fans and the performers and the music, and it was electric. It was just really special. I mean, that's how I felt anyway.
So going back to what I mentioned before about dragging my poor wife to other weird things she has no context for, she was definitely my plus one there for it, and it was so funny because she has never played any of these. She has never heard of the series until she had met me. And even then, like, most of the music probably doesn't, like, really, like, she knows, like, certain songs. She knows certain, like, songs that she's heard, like, on repeat a lot from, like, levels or other aspects, but definitely wouldn't have anything she could, like, quote off the top of her head. So she was going in so blind to that concert, and I was like, you're the only one here who probably has, like, no idea what, like, any of these songs are going to be, because I was really curious about, like, how it will be for her, because every concert, like, I've been to with her are these like massive like literally the first concert I ever went to with her, we saw BTS together live, and I remember being like, man, from like a concert production level standpoint, these are not very fair comparisons, so I'm not really sure what you're going to take away with it. And it was funny of like even her, she was into it the whole time.
That's
She wasn't
awesome.
like, because we were basically as close as you could get without just touching their feet and blowing your ears out with the speaker.
Right.
Because it was like, all right, honey, I need you to realize we're going to be here with the light sticks, and we're going to be jamming to this for the entire time, no breaks.
I remember from the stage perspective, there's just the sea of people, and then there's the upper rows as well, like full. But on the lower floor, there was a dude dressed as Matador.
Yes,
Big,
yeah.
and all I could see is a sea of people, and then I'd looking around and get jump scared every time I see freaking Matador, just like rocking out to the music.
And no,
so
honestly,
cool.
in any scenario, that is a terrifying
Yeah,
like proposition.
more flashbacks.
You just see this skeleton face with a Matador's hat looking at you with this giant wave of
Oh,
lights.
it was so cool, man. It was just, yeah. I love that entire event, and I think that if they took that on the road, I think it would do pretty well.
Well, I mean, now that you've beaten SMT5, like the original route and stuff with it, I can't wait for you also to play more Vengeance stuff, because I knew that they were going to do a lot of songs for this, but like I think it's something like almost 4 or 5 hours of new tracks altogether. And they're so drastically different and crazy and go in so many weird, wild places and stuff for it, where it's like, now that we even have more, I'm like, oh my god. Even if it's just another one-off, like next year at a convention or something, like on its own for it.
Oh, that'd be cool
really...
to get some Vengeance tracks then. Ah.
Yeah, because like it's one of those things of like, for an anniversary, like you got to show a little bit of love to everything. But like this is definitely the kind of game, like similar with like a Final Fantasy like 7, where it's like you could do a concert that's just SMT5 songs and no one would complain.
There's so many tracks that are so. There's enough there to have an entire concert with a roller coaster of different types of tracks.
And I mean, like, listen, now we'll have enough time to prep our Nahabino Raver outfit, where it'll just replace all the blue with like LED lights across people's bodies. Like, we'll have time to prep it properly this time.
That would be so cool. That'd be awesome. I say let's do it.
But I mean, to be fair, there's nothing outside of getting sued into oblivion that says that you and me can't just do this in a random LA parking lot next year. So that's, I mean, I'm just saying that nothing's been put off the table yet. Denny's parking lot concert, what's the worst that can happen?
It could be like, the Beatles rooftop concert.
Oh my god! No, yeah, no, nothing like the polar opposite of
Yeah.
Beatles playing on the roof to me with my car speaker cranking it in a Denny's
I'll just
parking
have a
lot
drum
with
set and I'll just be
ravers.
just playing along to the tracks.
I'm just imagining there's going to be a dude in the background, like no one invited him, but he brought a theremin and he's just perfectly playing everything with the theremin.
I don't think the police would even touch him. They'd be like, yeah, I'm not touching that one.
No, well, see, we would invite the guy who was Matador, and he would
Oh my
scare
God.
the police away. The police would come, and then it would just see Matador in the parking lot.
Ah, I'm out.
Listen, you know, if it's going to take a lot to scare and intimidate people in L.A. Matador is in the list.
Yeah.
He will definitely intimidate.
LA or maybe New York too is the one place I guess you can see someone walking around as Matador, and it wouldn't be the strangest thing you've ever seen.
Oh my god! Now I either am going to A, have to manifest this into happening, or B, hope that somebody draws what that looks like in some artistic interpretation. But yeah, Casey, thank you so much for letting me steal you for definitely way too long to chat today. It has been an absolute blast having you on there, and we still could talk about Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 coming back, but I won't. I'm not going to do that to you because that's how we tease you to come back next time when it gets announced next year.
Imagine?
It'll get announced, and then you'll be the first person I invite on.
Well, thank you so much for having me on here, and apologies to everyone who's listening.
Oh. Well, you know, like, could you imagine that, like, someone messages you after this goes live, and they're like, I've never played a Tony Hawk game before this podcast, and now, thanks to you guys, I'm now a dieharder / incredibly depressed because there's no more of these games, but now I get to play them all.
I'm sorry, but the good news is there's a whole lot of them out there, and most
That's
of them
true,
are
and there's a
pretty
lot of
good.
fans who do. There's a lot of fan support too. Like, let's be honest, people could like pretty much live off of like Tony Hawk mods for the rest of their
Absolutely.
lives.
There's one. Well, I'm putting one together right now, for PS1.
I love, by the way, it's like, hey Casey, tell us what you're working on right now. Let me tell you about my mod for the PlayStation 1.
New music, new sounds, new levels from like all Tony Hawk games for the PS1. So that's a
So is it like how they did like the PS1 version of 3 and 4? You're gonna take like
Pretty much.
new levels and crunch them down to PS1.
I pretty much have a blend of levels from 1, 2, 3, and 4 in one game, and I've got at least one music track from every Tony Hawk game all the way up to Proving Ground, which was the 9th one.
Oh my god.
And I got it all functioning and super high quality, and I don't know how the hell I did it, but I managed. And there's also another really cool mod I got to plug. Rethawed. It's for Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. If you've never really played Tony Hawk before, get Rethawed. It's friggin' dope. It's everything you could want. Everything's customizable to be however you want from any Tony Hawk game. All these different levels, any music you want. It's you're playing God essentially with the Tony Hawk games. You're the creator at that point.
You are the skate
Yeah,
god.
yeah.
I like how in the Tony Hawk world, Tony Hawk is still just Tony Hawk. He's not even like Skate God. He's just some dude that you don't pick and play as. You play everyone but Tony Hawk in Tony Hawk.
People gave me crap for playing as Tony Hawk back in the Tony Hawk 1 days when I was a little kid.
He was definitely like the vanilla character, but there was like kind of like a charm to that. He's such a weird, enigmatic figure.
I mean, he had the 900 move. He had a lot of points with that.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
He coasted. He could have coasted with that 900, but he didn't.
Yeah.
He's now been known as the guy getting recognized for being who he actually
Yep.
is.
Are you Tony Hawk? Yeah. Why?
I would love to be that TSA person at the airport who asked him that unironically and is like, I can now never tell this story to anyone.
I met Tony Hawk a couple of times, and I hope to meet him again soon-ish because I am going to be going to a skate park that he might be at. So he's no way in hell he's going to remember me. But I do have a hat
Never
signed
say
by
never.
him.
He looks like the kind of guy who would like remember
If he
people
remembers
in a
me from
weirdly
like
large
20
amount.
years ago, I'm going to be like, you have a memory better than anyone I know, and it's a little scary how good that is. If he goes, wait a minute, aren't you in Delicious in Dungeon? I'd be like,
No, no, this is what's gonna
You think he
happen.
was Tony
This is
Hawk
what's
Mike?
gonna happen. Could you imagine when you met when you meet Tony Hawk next time? What would you do if the first thing he says to you is like, "Hold on, were you the person in Bugsnax?
I'd be
Were
like,
you like be
so
like,
your kids played Bug
yes,
Snacks, huh? That's
no?
what I would say.
He's got the Tony Hawk certified platinum in Bugsnax. I
That
believe
would
it.
be strangely believable. I don't know. Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
I mean, like, let's be honest. Like, we joke about it. Didn't we like find out Tony Hawk 3 and 4 isn't happening because Tony Hawk said it wasn't
Yeah,
happening?
pretty much.
He's
Like, yeah, I wasn't involved in it, but
he's the hawk of the people. He's not even the man of the people. He's down to
yeah,
earth with his $900 million mansion he lives in.
I would just live in that. Like, one of his bathrooms would be better than anywhere I've ever lived before, and I'd be okay with that.
I don't know if Tony Hawk would allow the large array of like weaponry merchandise you have in his house, but I'm gonna manifest it in for you that
Oh,
does
he's
happen.
got some like World War II merch. Not merch,
So
but I mean like memorabilia. Oh yeah, the merch from 'cause his father was, I think, of
I'm
a
just
pilot.
imagining like showing off like he's like, here's my Purple Heart merch I got. I got my legs blown up, and look at the sweet merch I
Oh, he
got
gave
from
me.
World
Check
War
this
II.
out. One of a kind. Can't get many of these.
Guys, you would not believe the rare exclusive venereal disease I got from World War II. This was so, dude. I'm like one of
This
50.
wound,
Nobody has this
this
thing.
trauma, nothing like it. Unmatched.
This is the kind of PTSD you have to pay to get. This is like you can't match this PTSD.
I imagine he's probably got a hell of a lot of memorabilia from.
Oh my god!
I know
Can
he's
you
a
imagine
collector
the
of so many
Hawk
different things,
Museum?
so you never know.
To be reborn as one of Tony Hawk's children. That's all I'm saying. I'm a simple man.
Man, oh man.
I gotta know though. So I didn't know you were working on this mod though. When is this planning on coming out? Like, do you have any sort of like idea at the moment? Because I would love to check that out. I have such a disturbingly high PS1 nostalgia.
I made it in about less than a week. It's pretty much done. I just haven't had any time to work on it recently. I did it like I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and the finishing touches
That's awesome.
are I need to have Ben Diskin, we talked about before. He's going to record.
Oh, you mean Ben from Kindergarten
Yeah,
Cop Ben? Okay.
Emmy Award winning Ben Diskin, Muppet Babies fame. Ben Diskin is he's gonna voice the dude in the golf cart in the school level that runs people over, and I'm gonna have him record a few lines of dialogue for that. And after that, I'm gonna have a logo made because, as I mentioned before, art is not my thing. And once that's done, I mean the groundwork's done. I just need to kind of like make it look a little bit nicer and add that VO, and pretty much done. So
That's
I guess
awesome.
whenever it's done, yeah.
I'm very, very excited.
I'll
Well,
let you know when
any
it's done.
non, yeah, please. Any non Tony Hawk news coming up, or things you want people to check out for you coming up?
Play SMT5 Vengeance if you haven't. And let's see. What can I talk about? That's not, I don't think there's much.
Do you have like any conventions coming up, or any like things that are out that aren't getting enough love you want to give a bump to?
Gosh. I'm trying to think. Off the top of my head.
The problem is there's too many
There's
things.
a lot of stuff. Watch South Park. It's fun.
In theaters. If
In
you're hearing
theaters.
this somehow, yeah, if you could do it, if you still have time, this will be maybe going up tonight. People can hear it and they're like, oh god, I've got an hour left. I can see South Park in theaters.
Trying to think of like stuff that I'm in that I can announce that might not have been.
Buy Octopath Traveler 1 again.
Buy Unicorn Overlord if you haven't. It's really good. I thought I was going to be too stupid to play the game. Turns out I'm barely smart enough.
Sorry, they made it too tactical. I'm too dumb to play
Dude,
this
I
game.
played Final Fantasy Tactics when I was like, I don't know, 11 years old, and I couldn't figure out heads or tails. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, so I played 9
Really?
instead. Yeah.
I mean, I hope you go back and play it when a remaster comes out, because tactically
I
it's so
still have
good.
it here with me. Like I've barely touched it since Christmas of 2000. So
Oh my god.
I'm trying to think of what else. Let's see. I'm in Lego Fortnite. Maybe play that if you like Fortnite.
I mean, it's free, so I mean, there's really nothing stopping you from
That's true.
playing it.
Uh,
So if you're not going to play Lego Fortnite, that's a personal affront to everyone on this podcast. You've disappointed us all.
Having a total brain fart on stuff that I've worked on that like because there's a lot of stuff that's not out yet that I can't talk about, but I don't think
Have you played enough Fallout 76 to get invited back to Fallout 76? That's the question.
I have. I mean, I play it all the time. In fact, I'm probably going to play it for a couple hours after this before I have to go to the South Park event. But
You're like one of my like few people I know who like you played it when no one liked that game.
I was
Like
playing
you
it
were
when I was
you were
working on Ava. That was 2019, the beginning of 2019.
because like everyone's jumping into 76 now. Like, oh man, this game's so great. You guys should check it out. Be like, where were you in 2018?
They
Everybody
changed the game
dogging
so
on this
much
game.
now that I like it less than I liked it like 5 years ago. Because it's,
Can we go back to
I-
where there were no
I kinda
NPCs?
liked
I
it
really
better
don't like the
when it was,
NPCs.
more about the players. I mean, there's things about the updates that are amazing, the new areas and the quality of life changes that are obviously a million times better than it was before. But I do miss having less NPCs because now they get in your way too. You'll be in you'll be fighting some, I don't know, mutants or something, and then you're gonna start getting shot at from a different direction. Like, who the hell is that? Oh, it's a random wastelander I accidentally might have shot that is now hitting me with a pea shooter as I have like a rocket launcher. Like, what are you doing? Bro, run.
I'm really excited for your like 6-hour video review analysis of why Fallout 76 was peak when everyone wasn't playing it.
It was very uncharted territory too because they didn't do anything like it before. The main
for
problem
sure.
was it just was bad at launch. It just didn't work.
I will never
Nothing
not find it
Worked at
funny.
launch.
I will never not find it funny that remember when they announced that game, they had a no-clip documentary for it of like you can't do that. Like you can't be like, guys, we have so much confidence that this game's gonna fuck so hard that we're gonna have a behind-the-scenes documentary before anyone even knows it exists, and then for it to launch like that, it's like you just can't ever do that again now. Like you could have the most 10 out of 10 video game ever. Don't have a behind-the-scenes documentary ready before announcement. Just wait. Let anyone play it outside of your office.
Yeah,
That's
that was
all.
swept under the rug pretty quick. I remember there was an event I went to before 76 came out. Maybe it was actually E3.
Was it the one? Was it the one with the bag and the helmet?
I think so.
Because remember there was that like bag gate controversy of
Oh,
people thought that
yeah,
reviewers
yeah.
were getting paid off because they got this like $400 bag.
No, because I mean, I was just like an attendee at it must have been E3 or something like that, and I remember waiting a long time in line, getting to play it, and the people that were playing it before me, the game would crash a lot. The game would just crash, and the dude would have to go back and reboot it and stuff like that. And every time it would crash, everyone would go, "Oh!" And it's like, "Oh no." Well, maybe they'll have it fixed by launch, and they kind of didn't. So, I think about 6 months after launch, it was a good game. It took them several months to straighten out all the bugs and get things in working order. But once they did that, I'm in it for the exploration. That's why I like to play these games by Bethesda, is because the world, the storytelling from the world itself is just phenomenal, always is. So I just really like to walk around in the world, even if there wasn't a whole lot to do yet, because exploring and finding that stuff with people online was really fun. That was a really good concept, and I enjoyed it. So I know I'm one of the few people that liked the game back in the day, but
We're gonna apparently end on a Fallout 76 note, but I now have to then make the final question be this though, Casey. Now that we can reflect on it, was the Fallout 76 Battle Royale mode good or bad?
bad.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm glad you're on the. That was a test and you passed. That means you're
No
on the right side
hesitation.
of history. I can trust your opinion now.
The best thing about it was the vault they let you run around in beforehand. That's it.
Oh, that was cool. I forgot
Yep.
about that. That was the one bummer I was when they took it out. I was kind of like, oh, you won't be able to check that out
Yep.
anymore.
That was my only oh kind of moment from that. But everything else was like, all right, let's experiment.
I never want to see Appalachian Fires ever
No,
again for the rest of my
nope.
life.
I played it a handful of times and I wasn't really into it.
I'll tell you what. I'll be morbidly curious to be a ghoul. I will check
That's
that
gonna
out
be
at least.
interesting. I
Because
might
the fact
try.
that they will let you swap back and forth makes me a little less excited. I would kind of like that you could go one way or the other, but you can't go back and forth. So like, I'll be curious to see like how much they commit to the bit.
Mm. Well, I think you have to do a quest, so it's not just like flip a switch and your character editor. There's a whole story they're adding to it, and there's gonna be a quest to like do it and then undo it. I just don't know if you can do it and undo it as many times as you want. That's what I don't know.
Yeah, because that's the one like weird lore thing where like I worry that like there's no in universal excuse for that yet.
Mm.
So morbidly waiting and curious at the very least. But Casey, I don't have to wait to play SMT5 Vengeance because it's already out. So thank God.
Heck yeah.
In the meantime, everybody make sure to go and tweet at Atlas West and just make a little tweet bot account or just remind yourself every day, draft a couple of tweets and just say at Atlas West, where is Casey's Nahabino plush? Please and thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you everybody for listening to us talk about nerd stuff. And sorry if it wasn't really your bag and you came here for SMT stuff and left with Tony Hawk and Fallout 76 and random game PS1 nonsense. But hey, hope you guys enjoy this anyway.
And yes, thank you guys also for listening. Also, apologies for the delay in terms of getting shows out for it. But hey, you get to hear like 4 minutes of our impressions on Vengeance and like 60 minutes of what else has been going on in our life. So if you're ready for the Vengeance Impressions podcast, that will also be coming later this week. But we all know why we're really here. We're here to talk PS1 mods. So thank you all for listening, everybody.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Bye.
See ya.
But yes, I'm about to get started here. None of our recordings have thankfully blown up in my face, so that is a plus.
Cool.
I am going to do my best and hopefully not butcher your last name. Is it Mongilio?
With
Mongolo?
close. You're doing better than telemarketers do.
That's a very bad
I hear
bar.
a lot, like, Mongoliano and stuff like that, but no,
No.
oh yeah, Mongolo. It's just a
Mongolo,
is
thank
what,
you.
I mean, how we've always said it. But yeah, it's probably wrong.
That would be great. Like, I always like, because like my last name, no one ever calls out unless they're like a 70-year-old like grandma or grandpa. Of like, no one from my generation or even younger like hears my last name is Presley and go like, oh my, like Elvis. Like no matter how many like things that are tied to Elvis, no one ever associates me like, oh man, that must be really cool. That like you have like the same like, no, it's not. Like no, will never come up. And like I've always hoped like there's a really like actually it's supposed to sound like this, but no one's had the like heart to correct anyone the last like 6 generations.
That would be super funny, like Presley or something instead of Presley.
Breeze. Listen, if I get the chance slash the sin to reproduce in this world, and there's enough people out there that I can start gaslighting into saying my last name is Presley, I will gladly do it.
Presley, are you French? Nope.
Depends on where you are. It could be like there's like you roll the R's or you don't roll the R's.
Depending on just how you're feeling or time of day, you just change it up. Variety is the spice of life. Keep people on their toes.
It's true. It's true. Well, speaking of the spice of life, I should probably actually get started with this. So, let me give us a proper intro, jump into this, and see where the heck we go.